Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Colleague Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision. I've got some very special guests on with me today on this Hangout, and we had a few issues. I'm going to mute you guys out for a hot second until I talk. Jason, let me mute you out real quick. Oh, good, good, you got it. Okay. Um, we had some technical issues and everything. It was really mainly me. If anybody has a Mac Pro or something like that, they're wonderful, very super reliable machines. But once they start going, stuff just starts going downhill real quick. And I've been noticing over like the last month some really strange anomalies every time I either do Hangouts, when I'm mixing, when I'm doing all kinds of stuff. It just gets weird. So today, it just really took a turn for the worse, and I had a hard time getting on here, but I am back on now. Um, I'm back on, and we're going to get going. We got some great people here today, and we're going to have even more. I waited before I sent out invitations to have more guests come in because I knew I was having some issues, and I wanted it to be stable. But we will be getting more and more people here. Those of you that are watching in Pensado students, I want you to feel free. If you're watching online now and watching us in the YouTube channel or whatever, come on and join us. We got plenty of room inside now. Come on, hang out, get some of your questions answered, or tell us if you ran across any new great resources, tips and tricks, or anything like that. This is all about sharing and communicating and going back and forth with each other so that everybody gets better. I've been in it 30 plus years. Kenny's been in it, I mean, all of us have been in it a long time. But the thing that I love about music, and I'm sure you do too, is you never stop learning. It's a constant growing process, and that's why I can never lose interest, because when you think you've got a lot, there's still always more. So every now and then you got to empty out the cup to let some more come in. So with that, I want you guys to come in and join us. Don't feel that because we've been around and we're veterans that you can't hang out with us. This is exactly how I learn. Most of what I learn is by people that were in the business for a long time, the high-end people that I looked up to. When I got the chance to hang out with them and hear conversations that was beyond just even work, that was very enlightening and everything. So I really want you guys to know that you're welcome. It's open, and we enjoy having you here. No question is too beginner or too advanced or whatever. We're going to cover it all. So join us. All right. And what's up, guys? I want everybody to say what's happening. I had muted everybody, so just unmute yourself and say hi to everybody and where you're calling from. Give us your first and last name for people that may not know. And who wants to start?
Hi, folks. My name is Joseph Baffy. I'm coming in from just south of Detroit. Beautiful Sunday weather here today. I'm kind of glad to be inside right now. It feels like about 90 degrees out there. And just hanging out.
Oh, cool, cool. Man, this is blazing hot here too. I'm in LA, and it's like, well, I went out earlier this morning and it was 84 degrees, and now it's in the 90s, definitely probably about 95 or something like that, man. It's blazing hot, so I'm glad I'm inside. Yep, yep. And who else do we have here right now?
Do you guys hear me?
We got you. Yeah, yeah. What's up?
How you doing? This is Kenny Joya. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina right now, and unfortunately, it's also 90, but it's pouring rain here. So I would prefer to be outside at the beach.
Oh. Is it humid?
It's probably humid out there. I don't know. I'm inside with the air conditioning, so.
I feel you. That's so cool, man. Are you one of those guys? I actually like the rain occasionally. It's something.
Oh, I like it occasionally too, but I was trapped in Charleston yesterday for 2 hours. It was flooding in every direction. I couldn't. I was literally stuck in a one-block area with my car.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Around us. So I was a little too.
That's no fun. Yeah, and I'm so glad you said your name too. You see, I kind of slipped that in because I always thought it was Kenny Goya, and I'm glad you said Joya. So now I know.
I think I got it right, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, man. It's very important to me. I know names are very important to people and getting them right, and I'm very prone to messing them up. So I was like, okay, how about I slip it in real quick and see what the correct pronunciation is?
I certainly don't expect it to correctly because I've obviously lived 45 years with people getting it wrong, so I don't really expect it the first time.
Well, you should hear how jacked up Khaliq gets. I'm in Calicu, car quick, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so it's something else. And who else we got on here? I think I
Hey
saw
guys,
you.
Jason Constantine coming at you from Las Vegas, and actually, surprisingly, it's cooler than everywhere you guys are right now. It's about
What
84
in
degrees
Vegas?
outside.
Oh,
It's overcast. It's pretty well. I'm not partly cloudy, I guess, but it's actually a really nice day today. We had rain the past couple days, so it's really cooled things off. But last week was pretty brutal. We were in the 110s all week.
oh wow, yeah, that is brutal, man. And Vegas ain't no joke, boy. It really is.
Oh, I love it here. I love it here. I hate the heat, but everything else I love about this city. I absolutely love it.
Really, really. Now, in Vegas and everything, I have a lot of people, different friends and stuff that have lived there and done different things, for various parts of the business. And we know the music business is good there as far as particularly live. But how are things for the recording and mixing and music biz side of things there?
If you're good, it's good. I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, I definitely don't try and compete with, Zoe and the Palms and all the big guys like that, I have a couple. I've worked out of the Palms. I've worked out of Vegas View and a couple other studios here in town that are really nice. Bobby Ferrari just built out Vegas View, and that's a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. They 72 channel AWS 9000. I mean, full on. Amazing.
Wow.
All the vintage. LA 2As and 76s you could want. I mean, he really built that place out really nice, and I'm dying to get myself back in there and do some more work. I love working there. It's a great studio.
Yeah.
I mainly do work in like the medium range studio stuff here. I mean, I do some label stuff, but I've been focusing a lot with the local bands recently. Just a thing, helping them get a good sound. That's kind of my thing. Helping out the local bands, getting some really good quality recordings under their belt, learning about it. Before they go and spend all this money at places like the Palms and all these other places, so they're kind of prepped and ready and they know what they're doing.
Right. Which is very huge. I mean, as we know, preparation is probably 90% of it. I mean, that's one thing that I found out that was a huge distinction and secret because we've all been in those situations where we've gone in with people who weren't prepared, and then they try to get it together in the studio, and it wastes so much time and so much money. But those people that are prepped ahead of time, even if you go into a lesser place, if you can't do it in your own environment or home environment or whatever, go somewhere where you can have focused time to just really get your act straight, and then go. If you have to go somewhere where you have to pay dollars an hourly rate or a daily rate or something like that, come in prepared. That is just such a huge thing, man. A lot of people are missing that these days, I know.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, I've dealt with it a lot. Just bands completely bands not even able to play the stuff that they're trying to record. I mean, I've had some experiences, and as I've said to people in Pensado studios, I've sent bands home, given them back their deposit, and just said, go home, practice, please come back when you're ready. Please.
Right. You're wasting my time and you're wasting your money. I don't want you to do that to yourself. Yeah, man.
What gets really tough too, Jason, is when they come in unprepared, they can't play the same song twice. They still expect you to be able to fix it somehow, to make it so it all works out, and it doesn't work that way. And I totally agree with you. That's when you have to just be nice and send them home.
It's that fix it in the mix mentality that's kind of starting to I don't want to say dominate the industry, but
No.
with kids in their home studios, literally today with a home studio you can make something sound like $1,000,000. Literally,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just unbelievable with all the drum programs that are out there, and the Melodyne and the Auto-Tune and all this stuff. You really, I mean, I don't want to say you don't have to learn how to play. I mean, obviously you still have to learn how to play, but you don't need to be like super proficient. You don't have to be like Steve Lukather level, on your instrument or guys like that. All the big studio cats. But it's just such a different mentality nowadays from when I started. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't get it.
It's really lowered the bar, though. I mean, just because you have the ability to not have to play and not have to really learn it, you can cut and paste. Why should you lower your threshold and not want to aspire to these great folks? I mean, to me, it's like having the ability to play a song from start to end, is in itself is such a huge feat nowadays, and it's not a challenge for people anymore in their minds. They think, oh, I'll just get the verse and get that down and copy and paste. And it's like, I want to be able to play a song. I would want to be able to play a song from start to finish. If somebody just says, well, play me your idea. What do what are you trying to do? And you could do it without having to have crutches behind you, man. I mean, I don't get that too. So I really think that side of it has kind of hurt things for the fact that we've got all these tools, more tools than have ever been before, more capability, but the thing that's missing in the mentality is just because you have all these things, don't automatically rely on them. Don't automatically rely on auto-tune to tune your vocals. Let the vocalist aspire to sing in tune, I mean,
one of the things I've always noticed is that these tools never seem to fake it to the point you sound like, and I brought up in the previous one, Aretha Franklin. A bad singer just now sounds in tune, but they don't sound like a great singer. They're just in tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really it's not really cheating because you're just creating something different. To use the example like the Will.I.Am I mentioned previously. Will.I.Am now is in tune because he auto-tunes almost everything he does, or everything he does, but he doesn't sound like Bruno Mars. You know what I mean? So and that doesn't, it's not a knock on him. He's using the tools he has available to him, but you're not replacing one for the other. Talent, when you need that talent, is still going to be there with someone who's more talented. So I don't believe in this whole thing of if you use auto-tune, you're cheating, because I still think the great players still stand above the players who are just getting away with using the tools. But in the end, it's still all about content. So if Will.I.Am writes a better song than Bruno Mars, his song will do better on the charts. Because people don't just care about performances; they care about everything. And the song is king. So if you're not that talented of a guitar player, but you can come up with a part that really works for the type of music you're doing, you'll probably be more successful than the person who can play a song from beginning to end that isn't necessarily doing the most interesting part. And that's when you're working with those great players. What they give me more than just a performance that's in time is what they play. When I'm working with my studio bass player, I can play a lot of the parts he plays. I just didn't think of them. He's thinking of parts like, wow, because he has those 25 years of experience playing bass on big records to know the best part to play, not just how well he plays it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
I can cheat and play 99% of the stuff you hear on the radio, but I can't think of them all. A lot of these guys can't. So that's the reason you want those guys. The best studio drummers. Those are the guys who think of the best part to play for your song, rather than be able to mimic someone else's performance.
But a good distinction that you just mentioned too is the difference. I think is because it's like if you understand, you don't have to be like I used to be a guitar player and all that, and I wanted to be the greatest guitar in the world. But once I got out here in LA, around like you said, you get around these best session musicians and everything, you realize what real cats, that's what they do all the time. You're never gonna know and think of every scenario. You're never gonna really play it as good as them, But the good thing is that if you at least push yourself to know that if you had to map something out, and then let the experts take it over, you could. That's one of that's one of the things that I think that when we have a danger of relying too much on technology for some of the things, I'm not against it at all. I love technology and everything, but I always think like everything else, there's always a balance, and I think you shortchange yourself if you I'm sure you have, Kenny, but I've run into plenty of singers that just don't think it's important to sing in tune because they know the engineer can auto-tune them and tune up their vocals. Well, can't you just fix it? That'll be the first thing. Whereas the best singers, and forget about the talent because the ones that have lesser talent, it's more of a struggle. But the mentality is you get better when you push yourselves, when you get out of your comfort zone and you push the edge. That's when you get better. When you can't sing in tune, trying to sing in tune makes you sing in tune. Learning that skill.
But wouldn't you rather have a singer that emotes some great emotion, but their pitch isn't necessarily great, as opposed to someone great?
It all works together because if you got to put it all together because see that's the other part of the puzzle too. There's a lot of singers that might learn to sing perfectly in tune. We work with some people that I'm sure you've ever worked with somebody that had perfect pitch, so they couldn't sing out of tune if they tried, but they had absolutely no feeling. So that's the whole other side. That's a skill that you have to learn. It's like, okay, you sing in perfect pitch, and you can tell, you might be able to say Aretha Franklin's out of pitch. That'd be pretty audacious to say that, but your pitch might be so great that you might be able to say that about her, but it's like, okay, put your vocal next to hers, and which one wins? So learn the skill that it takes to put in that. Then the other part of it is learning the time. Some people can't sing in rhythm. Some people can't even, like you said, use that keyword emote. Emoting, what I used to love, like when I worked with being in the room with guys like Jeffrey Osborne and Luther Vandross and some of those guys like that they get the air and then they get the resonance and they get the push and pull. They lay back rhythm-wise but feel-wise. Syllables, all that. Oh man, it is so magic when you hear a great vocalist that can put all these things together and still be in tune. Oh man, it's magic.
Right. No, absolutely. But there's only so much we can do as engineers. We can fix timing, we can fix pitch. We can't fix those other things. So the better singers will learn above the others.
The sad part is people seem to think we can these days. A lot of people seem to think that you can fix anything, and you really can't. That's the same myth that went about mastering. Oh, can't you fix it in mastering? Fix it in the mix, fix it in mastering, fix it somewhere else. That's a huge myth.
Because the talent's never the problem.
Yeah, right.
But back to the vocal thing, just real quick. I actually had a singer come in. And I deal a lot with the metal crowd, so I shouldn't really say singer. I should be honest and say screamer. Okay, but there was part in the song needed a specific kind of tone and timbre and everything in the voice. I literally had to break this kid down to the point where he was crying on the couch. Crying like full on. I had to literally beat him down emotionally in order to get what I needed out of him. And then when he did it, biggest smile on his face. He felt like $1 million. He felt like the greatest singer in the world. He hated me for it too, but hey, whatever. Got what he needed. And that's a big part of it.
I gotta ask you guys this: has anybody ever worked with their spouse or mate or I used to work with my wife, boy, and we used to get into such battles because she's a brilliant singer, one of the best. She was a session singer, sang with everybody out there at the time on all these sessions getting requested. I mean, David Foster used to call her in all the time and people like that. So high level singer and everything. But when we were doing our own thing together, I would work with her, and because I knew her voice more intimately than anything, I could also tell when she was kind of just doing it on automatic as opposed to really digging in. And then when you get into a thing where you have to, the person that means the most to you, you have to like kind of, come on now, that ain't it. Then you get to the point where you guys are battling each other, and it's like, well, what do you want from me? What are you trying to say? I can't sing? What, you go through all that, but you know that there's something more, and you got to push them and break them down emotionally almost to say, get out of your head and get out of your comfort zone and do what's really in there. And then when they finally get there, then they be like, okay, I see what you mean now. Okay, you were right. Anybody been through that situation, scenario with somebody like that?
Yeah, one of my ex-girlfriends was a brilliant singer, absolutely phenomenal. Very, very operatic and just very big, large voice. And I used to have to do that all the time. You know, and that's a very good point. Is singers being inside their own head, you know, knowing how to get them out of that space and out of their comfort zone in order to do things that, one, maybe they wouldn't think of doing that would be cool, or two, just to show them that they can do more than they think they can do. You know, it's like I tell everybody in this business, you know, everybody who wants to get into this that talks to me about it, I'm like, you need to be as much a psychologist as you are an engineer and being able to mix.
Yeah. All right. This is true. Yeah. Psychologist is a big part of it, you know. And the same thing for ourselves too, because I can't tell you how many times I've been beat down mentally. You know, you get with the wrong client, and they can make you feel so small, like you don't know nothing, and you ain't doing nothing right. What the, you really, and some people do it on purpose just to see how you react, you know. But I learned through a long course of those different things. A couple people pulling my sleeve and saying, hey, listen, man, that's part of the thing. That's what he does, or that's what she does, because she wants to see what kind of person you are, and so just ride it out and everything. And then if you come out cool on the other end, then you're golden to them. And I really didn't know it was a game, because we take this seriously. This ain't no joke to us. And when you get with somebody that no matter what you do, they seem to have a problem with everything, and they're beating you down, but yet they end up calling you back. And what you find out is the reason why they called you back is they just wanted to see how you were going to handle the extreme pressure and the extreme demands, and just try to get the job done no matter what. And that's really what the type of person that most people want on their side, because they know you're going to dig in no matter what, and not let your ego get in the way. You've got their best interests at heart as well as your own. Yeah, man. Did we lose you, Jason? Did we lose your audio?
No, man. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally understand that. I had a situation last year. Unfortunately, a bad situation. I actually had to walk out on a record. I mean, it was so bad. Just volatile, hostile environment, and I literally had to walk out on it. Oh yeah, it was really bad. Really bad. But it wasn't to the point where I walked out completely. I hung around the studio. I brought in another engineer out of my own pocket to finish up everything and get everything. I mean, it was starting to affect me mentally to the point where I was like, well, I don't give a shit about this record anymore. And that's never a good place to be in. Ever a good place. No. So I walked right up to the producer and I said, listen, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. You got a choice. I can continue working on this record and just not give a damn, and the record will probably come out like shit, or I can bring somebody in who'll be on the up and up and doing things right. I mean, I just had a confrontation with a guy in the band, and it was just really bad. Very volatile environment. It was just, oh man, it was horrible, and I felt bad for doing it. But the guy still calls me, still talks to me to this day, and everything's cool between us. Everything's good. We still work together. Everything's great.
Isn't that funny?
Just one of those situations, I literally had to take myself away from it because it was just bad for me. It was so horrible. I feel horrible for doing it, and they know this, but it was just one of those situations where it was like, yeah, no, I just can't do this. I can't.
I feel you. Anybody else have any kind of experiences like that? I know Joseph or Bill or Kenny.
Yeah. We probably all have had some weird ones. I've never worked with anybody who was actually good enough to support their ego. So it never got under my skin when they were, bad mouthing me, because I knew the truth. I could see what was in front of me for what it was, and I think that's really important. It's some you can call it a thick skin or something, but it's kind of like you don't lose sight of what you're actually looking at. The experience that you're in. Mm-hmm. I kind of use this metaphor: what's on my side of the street. When things are being put on my shoulders, or I'm being blamed for something, in a session, I know the difference. If it really is on my side of the street, if I'm really causing the problem, then I don't have any issues apologizing and moving on and doing the best I can. On the other hand, if I know it's a problem that is not coming from my service, then I still pretend like it's my fault, and I move on and keep going, but it doesn't affect me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's good. Yeah,
but
you fall on the. That's called falling on the sword.
yeah, I think the worst session I had was a guy. The booth I had at the time was only 6 feet tall on the inside, and he had a top hat, like a Slash top hat.
Yeah.
And I told him that Slash, that he didn't play guitar, and I thought I was joking, and I said, you got to play guitar to wear that hat, and you're the lead singer, you can't do that. Well, he couldn't fit in the damn vocal booth. The dude was like 6'3", and he couldn't wear a top hat in the vocal booth. All right, and well, anyway, I shouldn't have made the comment. I thought at the time it was just a funny, and he ended up walking out because he thought I was bad mouthing him, because he couldn't wear his lucky hat in the vocal booth.
Oh wow.
I said the vocal booth was 6 feet tall. It was 8 feet tall. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He was 8 feet, and he was over 6 feet with his top hat on.
That's 8 feet right there.
Yeah, and he's jumping around doing his shit, and it was just a nightmare. But it was all my fault, because I said something about, Slash, and he had to, play guitar to wear the hat, but it was, I got myself in trouble,
Yeah, yeah. Stupid comments. Yeah, that's a big one. That's interesting. Anybody made a real stupid comment, like you just gave us, for example, something that kind of, you thought it was just, just an innocent, innocuous comment.
Yeah, I really did.
I have one. I asked Craig Beck once who the hell he thought he was. No joke. I'm serious.
Yes,
First time I ever met him, I asked him who the hell he thought he was because he was talking about all this production stuff, inviting me over to his studio and this and that, and I was like, who the hell do you think you are? And then a buddy of mine tapped me on the shoulder and goes, dude, that's Craig Mack. I was like, oh, shit.
Okay. That's pretty big. Oh, my goodness. Yeah,
I felt like this big after that was all said and done.
Did he let you know who he... Did he let you know who he was?
Actually, he didn't. He was totally cool about it.
Yeah,
but I was still, apologetic and everything. I was like, dude, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm a long-haired guy in a Slayer shirt. I don't know nothing about hip-hop. What do you want me to do? I don't know.
There you go.
And the thing is that I think we all learn from stuff like that too, because sometimes, I mean, even to this day, as long as I've been on this earth, every now and then, I do them much less, but every now and then I'll do something and say something that's like, oh shit, I should have thought before I said that, done it on a few of these hangouts, because it's like, you don't mean anything by it, or you might call yourself being funny, and then when you realize when it comes out, it's like, wait a minute, that don't sound funny. So
I have put my foot in my mouth plenty of times.
yeah. So I've stopped trying to be Richard Pryor. It's not going to work.
I had a situation where I don't really regret saying because it makes a very funny story, and I don't really know what I should have done different. But the client I worked with hired Bernard Purdy to play drums on a song, and the whole idea is we wanted the Bernard Purdy shuffle. We wanted his sound on this record, but for some reason he was hearing it differently than us. And I think I was like 23 at the time, and he's obviously quite a few years older than all of us. And he looks at me and he goes, and he's talking about himself in the third person. He said, Bernard Purdy hears it this way, and this is how it's supposed to be, because if Bernard Purdy hears it this way, this is how it's meant to be played. And I was like, yeah, but you keep coming in early on this one groove. And he goes, if Bernard Purdy comes in early on this groove, Bernard Purdy meant to come in early on this groove. He was really trying to put me in my place, and I really wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to get the part right. And what's funny is at the end, he wound up saying, thank you very much. He played a few passes, and we hired another studio drummer to play, but we think he should have played. And the guy played the Bernard Purdy shuffle on the record, but we didn't use Bernard Purdy. But it was a funny experience because he put me in my place because he was like, who's this 20-something-year-old kid to tell me what to play? But it was one of those situations where he just had in his mind what needed to be played, and we just had something different in mind. But it just always make a funny story.
So this was the actual legendary drummer Bernard Purdy you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I mean, tell them because there's a lot of people that are too young that don't know. But I mean, this guy. Well, go ahead. You tell them
Well,
who are
it's
we
too
talking
much.
about here?
It's too much to name. I would just say Google Bernard Purdy because he played on everything. It's just too much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what he played as far as the Beatles stuff because there's a lot of rumors going around. I don't want to confirm or deny anything. But just Google him because I mean he's an amazing drummer. I'm definitely not questioning his drumming. His just ability to work with a 20-year-old producer is just not very uh, thought out.
Yeah, yeah. He's a legendary drummer. In fact, even a lot of sample libraries were based on things of records that he did and grooves that he set the precedent for. But the thing is that, you know, that's what's interesting because you, as that young 20-year-old too, was just trying to go for. You wanted the Bernard Purdy like thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
He had gotten to a certain thing where he had set his thing, but that's a little bit of a difference too because even though it was the Bernard Purdy and everything, he still needed to adjust a little bit to fit your thing because you had a slightly different twist on what his was. You wanted Bernard Purdy like, but not exactly that where it takes it away from what you were trying to accomplish.
Well, actually, I think he does just different sides of what he plays, and there was one side of what we wanted, and he just said, no, that's not. It wasn't about him being able to do it. He heard something different in his head. He was kind of
that's what I mean. Yeah.
And
And see that's a great production lesson for a lot of people too because you trying to hear what that other person hears is a huge skill to get. This is what we always have to try to do as mixers and stuff like this. But as musicians and everything, trying to hear what the 20-year-old wants, even though he wants your style,
right.
it's still he's hearing. You were hearing something slightly different than what he was hearing in his head, and finding that balance of okay, well, let's get there is always a challenge.
Right. And some people are just more willing to do what you want than what they want.
Yeah.
But it's pretty unique. Most studio guys, he's not your typical studio drummer. I mean, I think he's a little past that at this point. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, definitely, like I said, legend and everything. Well, it's like one of those things where, like say, as a keyboard player, and you call in Herbie Hancock. Well, before
Right.
you call in Herbie Hancock to do Herbie Hancock things, and you don't lay out how he's going to do his chord progressions and change his stacks and stuff like that because you called him in to do his thing. Now, if you want him to just mimic and parrot something of you probably called the wrong person, or you should make that clear up front because with a guy like Herbie coming in, boy, you're going to get all kinds of extensions and polyrhythmic thing, and all you're just going to get it. That's what you called in,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's interesting though. And we were talking about the singer thing and stuff like that. So Jason was saying he had to get the most out of somebody, you have to break them down out of their head or their normal approach. They call it a pattern interrupt. We all have our patterns that we get used to, and sometimes you have to snap them out of it. Well, do you ever? Because this is something that I do. I try to normally do it. This is part of why I'm doing these hangouts and everything too, because my snap out of my pattern or interrupt is hanging with all the different people, younger, older, more experienced, different styles and everything, because you can get so comfortable in what you do and so one track minded in what you do that there's a whole world of new stuff out there that just snaps you out. It's like, and I'm gonna get to Bill in a minute because Bill's another one of those guys. He's out there. He's constantly researching, doing stuff, trying different things. He also came from another industry to come into this industry to learn about it. So he has fresh approaches. It's like, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. It's a whole nother look and everything that keeps us going. And I have my own little pattern interrupts to make myself not get stuck into the same old way of doing or thinking about things. So, Kenny, do you have anything that you've done on that or that you make yourself do? Oh, I think Kenny muted himself back out. Or anybody else? Anybody want to answer that till Kenny hits it?
Oh, I am totally a creature of habit, like 100% totally a creature of habit. When I start, I mean. And I guess a better way to put this is, like you were saying, we all get kind of stuck in our thing. And I think even as producers and engineers, it's a good idea to take a look from outside the box every once in a while, or go outside the box. Just try things you haven't tried before, things that you never think in a million years would work. You never know what's going to happen. I did a record last year where we were trying to get all these kind of weird dubstep sounds that this guy was hearing in his head. And what wound up being the sound that was in his head was taking an old analog delay and just cranking the rate on it just to get that real cool kind of, I guess, that phase sweep that the old analog delays do. Never would have thought of that. I went through a million keyboard patches and samples and this and that trying to find what he wanted. And I was just like, well, let's just try this because you're kind of describing this. And I did it, and he was like, oh, that's exactly it. You know, just thinking outside the box completely is always a good thing to do. But, again, I am a creature of habit. You know, all my mixes start the exact same way. They start with all the exact, you know, plugins and bus and this and that and blah, 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 blah. I always wind up with the same mics on the drums, and then I think about it after I'm done, and I'm like, you know, I should really change this, or I should change this, or change that. You know, but it's not till after the fact. It's just kind of a comfortability thing. But breaking that habit is always a really good thing. You can come up with some really cool creative stuff.
Yeah, you know.
It's very difficult to get things done if you start off everything with a clean slate, like try out every microphone on every instrument, you know, just pretend you don't know anything. So being a creature of habit, I think, is pretty normal for our business. Like, here's what works every time, and then let's find some different flavors. Like, one of the things I always do is I bought myself a Fender P-Bass, I bought myself a Les Paul, I bought myself a Marshall stack. I bought everything I usually need that the artist should usually bring to me. I bought myself at least something I know sounds good. So at the very least, I know I have really good equipment, and then when the band comes in with their own bass that's a weird model, I'll try theirs first, and then I'll go, let's try my Fender P-Bass. And if their bass beats my bass, I'm happy, because we've gotten something better than my default. But I always have these defaults to kick back on, so at the very least, you know I can get a good record with these things. And it's the same thing what he mentioned with plugins, with starting. If you're not a creature of habit, I can't imagine there's just too many things to do. You know, if you have 90% of it you do the same way every time, then that other 10% becomes that fun stuff. But you're not losing perspective on everything. Like, now the drums sound weird, the bass sounds weird. At least you got some things that are coming together, and then you could try new things here. Like, hey, let's try something different on the snare. Let's try a different kick drum. You know, let's try different things to make it more interesting. Because you don't want to be making the same record over and over again. But I don't want to start back to where I was 17 years old and I didn't know how to do anything. You know, what's going on the snare? I don't know. Let's grab this thing. So being a creature of habit gets things done. And I think I mentioned in the hangout I had recently, one of the things that still drives me crazy is synth presets. Because when you buy a new synth every few months, it comes with 20,000 presets. And there's no easy way to get lost on a record than trying to go through every preset that a manufacturer makes. So that's why when you come to synth making or drum making, it's always good to have 5 or 6 sounds in your arsenal that you go to every time, and then either blend things together or come off there. But you need to have a kind of a home base to go to, which is what puts us ahead of the guys who are newer who don't have that home base yet. You know what I mean? But knowing things that work just, you know, makes things flow a lot quicker.
Well, this is a big part of why music and records were made back in the day and then branched off, because everybody, you know, when we used to start out, we could always count on every session had a Fender Rhodes in it, for example. You know, maybe an acoustic piano, but almost every session when I set up, you knew a Fender Rhodes was going to be part of it. You know, certain things on the there were certain things that you always knew to set up as a point of departure for a mix. So, you know, and this is even before people were processing their stereo buses and everything, but you had the patch bay with 5 billion things ready to go on certain inserts, automatic. Even before you load the song, you know, stripe the board and everything with the tape and label things, know right away what inserts were going to be needed on certain things right away. Basically, whatever style that either you had set up or if you were working with somebody or for somebody, what they wanted. Always a point of departure, but then it gets changed out as needed or as new things come up. So that is definitely the way to go. But the good thing was that happy accidents are a wonderful thing too. So I always like doing that. And then, like I said, stuff like this, you know, Bill has posted videos or mentioned stuff on some of these Hangouts or showed us some things that I was like, oh, okay, I gotta try that, see what's up, because I never would have done it, because I have my tools that I use. Or we all watch, say, Dave Pensado on Pensado's Place, and he shows us how he works. Then some of his guests show us how they work, and it's like, oh, okay, all these things spark different things, and every now and then, if you get some free time. Free time is the key. Every now and then, if you get some free time, it's just like, let me just break how I normally do things and just go for something new. Let me try that thing I read about or that thing I saw that person do. And then it's like, oh, kind of cool, kind of cool. New tool for the arsenal.
Yeah, I had a situation similar to what Jason was talking about yesterday, because I probably had 6 to 8 plugins stacked up on some heavy guitars, and it just wasn't going where I wanted to go. So I happened to talk to Harold LaRue. Harold LaRue, he's a group member. He's the guy that hooked up the LA3s for James Lugo. So he owns a restaurant, and yesterday he sent me a picture because Vance Powell happened to walk into his restaurant. So he was hanging out with Vance Powell, and Vance Powell is like, oh, well, on guitars, I use a Cooper Time Cube, right? So I'm telling you, I had 6, 7, 8 plugins stacked up. I turned them all off. I put one Cooper Time Cube on before I got to do anything. It was in default. I pressed the button. I was like, ah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, that Cooper Time Cube is sweet too. I love what UAD did. That was one of when I used to work at Lionshare Studios. That was one of the first effects that I ever saw. And I at first I thought, well, it looks so simple. I was like, what could this possibly do?
Yeah.
But like you said, you can just put it on and suddenly, you hear the angels and the sound is just right, man.
Yeah, Fat DuPont did a video about it with Joe Ciccarelli, and they were putting it on vocals or whatever, and it's one of those things that it's that sound of the record. You know how they say the L2 is the sound of such and such, or the Waves SSL channel is the sound of such and such. Cooper Time Cube is just one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's really cool, because that's one of those things where like I said, you break your pattern, because I don't know about a lot of different things that come out. There's so many things that are new. I may never try something, even though I might read about it and say, "Oh, it seems interesting." But I like when you guys come in and do something, and then talk about the success that you had. It just reignites that thing. You know what? I gotta try that. I gotta try that because it's different. And I love our business because you never stop growing and learning and adding to the toolkit.
Yeah, this has been Education Week, actually. Kenny has a video out for the Eventide, for the channel that they just released.
Yeah, the Ultra channel.
Yeah, he's got a video out for that. Ryan West dropped a video where he's mixing his hip-hop record, and James Lugo put up a bunch of new videos that he just came back from CLA mixed with the Masters. So he put up a bunch of new videos about how he changed his setup. And so it's like in between all that stuff, it's just been Education Week. It's just been learn, test, learn. Like, oh.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And Kenny, if any of the new videos, because I have the Ultra channel too, but I haven't had a chance to dig into it as much as I want to. I'm still trying to get my computer build. I think my Mac Pro is dying, man. It's dying on.
Time for a new one.
Time for a new one, man.
I haven't chatted with him before. What's up, Kenny? How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Everything's good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. He was saying you had some new videos on the Ultra channel and stuff like that out.
Yeah. Once I saw that those things were going away for free, I was like, well, everyone's going to have this thing because it's such a good plugin. So I'm like, well, I got to make this into how to use it. And I think I ran through just about almost every instrument, from like kick, snare, overhead rooms, bass, guitar, side chaining this, side chaining that, vocals, de-essing. Just about everything that plugin could do. I think I gave an example of how it would work with it. And it's a really cool plugin. Hopefully everyone got it at the beginning.
I am totally shocked that we're giving it away for free. That's probably one of the best giveaways I think I can think of.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, do you have a link to the tutorial you did, man?
I can put it in the chat if you
Yeah,
want.
put it in the chat for me because I haven't had a chance to check it out. Like I said, I grabbed it, but I haven't had a chance to play with it like I wanted to yet. I just kind of got it, toyed with it a little bit, and took it up. I mean, it's all the same tools that we all got because I'm sure you probably already had all the previous Eventide hardware and the plugins from the anthology bundle, etc. But having it all on that one channel is really, really cool. So I want to get in and dig in with that one of these days and just see what's up.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, like you said, having it on one spot is definitely convenient. I wish somewhat DAW manufacturer would create these kind of things where you can put them all in one window instead of having to open different plugins. You just open one and all one plugin. Even if it's different companies, just make it so it's it's one window where I could see all my plugins for that channel.
Let me ask you a question. Isn't that what Waves
Yeah, they're doing their live stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Has anybody used it? I haven't used it yet. I have it as part of my account, but I haven't used it yet.
But is it just for Waves, or you can use other plugins too?
You can use any plugin, Waves and any other plugins, from what I understand. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, I believe so. It's any plugins, and then the other benefit is that you get to port them in between. Like you might make up a chain in Logic, and then you save it as a preset, but then when you open that same plugin in Pro Tools, it'll give you the same plugins as long as you have them in, the same formats.
But if you're all in one window?
Yeah, it's one. I'll have to look up a video for it, but
yeah, I think it's one config.
I see what you're saying. You mean one window, as in are they all stacked up, versus can you access all of them from one window?
Right, I want to clip one thing on my kick track, and then one window opens up with everything that's on the kick track.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they have it lined up or not, but
gotcha.
They have them all together. That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think it is, though, but from descriptions that I've just heard about, but I don't have the experience yet of having actually used it, but I think it is. But the other good thing is that it's cloud-based, too. Isn't that correct? So, I mean, you literally can call it up anywhere on any system. Am I correct in that, Bill, from what I remember reading?
I'm not sure about the cloud capabilities.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's how it actually works is as a cloud type of plug-in that if you have connectivity, you can literally call it up on anything, and you don't have to. I think I'm imagining other than I guess you wouldn't even need iLok and stuff like that. I don't know. I had to investigate that more, but I read it and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting.
Well, that's one of the things that you mentioned, iLok. It's a lot of people complain about iLok. There are certain things that if you say certain words, people just feel like, oh, it's their opportunity to bitch and moan about something. So if you say iLok, if you say Behringer, if you say certain things, they go, ooh, I get to say something, blah blah blah. But I actually like iLok because,
I do too.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't have to go through any hassles. If I want to take my iLok and go to your place, Khaliq, now I show up with my metric halo, I show up with my slate.
Ready to go.
It's a done deal. I don't have to have any discs and do all this stuff and do all this registration. And for people that it didn't work out. This guy had this thread on the group complaining that he had traveled from 2 hours. He had traveled 2 hours from his project studio to an actual studio, and he thought that he thought something was going to translate from Windows to PC, from Windows to Mac. So he had, let's say he started a project on Pro Tools in Mac, and he thought it was going to open up on Pro Tools on a PC 2 hours away. He got over there, and when it did open, it had reset all his settings. Like, he didn't have the same settings, so he couldn't actually recall it. So he was trying to figure out what he could do, because he had the iLok, and he was able to access it on either system, but the plugin itself didn't translate.
And he didn't save his presets?
He did. Well, but he saved it. What I'm saying is he saved it in the format of one computer, and then tried to open it in the format of another computer, which I guess he had never tried that before.
That should work,
one plugin.
I work on Mac. I work on a PC at the house in Pro Tools, and when I go to the studio, it's a Mac. The only thing I can think of that would cause that to happen is they don't have the plugin installed at the studio he went to. That's the only thing I can think of.
No, it's pretty funny. If I could find it, I'll link it to you guys. But it's pretty funny. He had the plugin. It opened up, but it opened in default. It didn't open in, you know how when you save a plug, it's not like it wasn't one of the Massies. You know how like if you don't pay for the Massie, then every time you open it up, it's in default. It wasn't one of those. It was something like Alloy. I don't know which one it actually was, but it was something intricate, and now he had nothing.
Yeah.
So he was trying to figure out how he could avoid traveling 2 hours back to his house to get it again, which goes back to what Khaliq was saying about cloud things.
Yeah, and Pro Tools does have two different ways of saving presets. One stays with the computer, and then the other one can be the user presets can travel with you if you take the folder where they're stored.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm a Logic guy, so Pro Tools has something like that, right? Where you select whether you do or don't want to copy the presets into whatever you're taking with you.
Right.
So
the preset can stay
maybe
with.
That's what he did.
But the preset in the session should still be the same preset. You don't have to even save it. You know, it should be part of the session. But like you said, maybe in PC and Mac, maybe it defaulted back.
Yeah, the Pro Tools presets will stay the same, but the plugins themselves, because they're all coming from different manufacturers, could be saved anywhere.
Right, they could be saved anywhere. But I'm saying in the session, you don't have to even save your preset for it to pop up when you open the session. You know, the preset that you have set on your kick, for instance. You don't have to save that and give it a name to be in your session.
Yeah, technically you shouldn't. Yeah, you're right, absolutely. But that's the only thing that I could think that may be a problem because I haven't run into that. Usually you can make it portable, but I do remember somebody mentioning that as a safety thing, that if your presets and stuff don't come back, if you go somewhere and it doesn't, to carry something, if you customize your stuff, carry your customized preset folder, which is a very small file. I think it's in the application support or one of them. I can't remember where it is, but
my overall point though is that the iLock itself, I think it's convenient for somebody who has several locations where they're going to work. You can just move from spot to spot, and you're automatically authorized. You don't have to deal with any problems. Like maybe if you're going somewhere new, you might have to take a loader DMG or something. But other than that, to me, it's convenient. I want to know what other people in this chat thought about iLock because I don't see what everybody's complaining about.
Well, I love it when it's convenient, but sometimes if you happen to lose it, or the problem that happened I guess it was a year ago, where the whole site went down and people were without being able to run Pro Tools for a couple of days, that isn't very convenient, I assume. Luckily I wasn't one of those people.
The site goes down, you can't use it. Interesting. Okay.
No, what happened was they were updating the iLock. They turned it from iLock, whatever software they were using, to iLock Manager, the one they have now. And during that process, a lot of people were losing their licenses, and it wasn't completely gone. It just wouldn't the iLock, and it just wasn't registering anymore. And in those moments, people were like, what can I do? I'm trying to update my plugins or update my iLock Manager, and it's just not working. And it worked for Pro Tools too, so they couldn't even open Pro Tools. So in those situations, you kind of prefer a program like Reaper, where you can open it anytime.
Right. And
I like that about it because I know I can go across the street and use some woman's computer and just download Reaper in about 30 seconds, and I'm using Reaper because it has a 30-day evaluation period, and after that it still just keeps going. You keep going. I'm still working on it. So there's no chance you can't use Reaper. And I use both, so I'm not knocking Reaper over. I'm not knocking Pro Tools over Reaper, but that's the advantage of not requiring an iLock is that you're not going to. You're not going to be down. I can work today. Reaper will always work.
I've always been curious about Reaper too, man. I've never messed with it at all, but I've heard nothing but great things about it, actually.
Me too, especially the customization.
Yeah.
The more DAW you use, the more you figure out that each one has their own thing that they're best at. There's still things about Reaper that I can't do everything on. I still prefer to mix in Pro Tools. I think the automation in Pro Tools is still just the best. But it's just a different way of thinking. But when it comes to customization, like you said, when it comes to making it small, I think the download's like 15 megabytes. Not gigabyte, 15 megabytes to download Reaper. So you click on it, and within 10 seconds, you download the program. All your settings can be stored. You can run it off of a USB thumb drive. You can put all your settings on there, like all the customization. So if you walk into a new studio with the USB hub, you can pop it into their computer, and you have all your presets. Everything is on that thing, and you can run it off there. You don't have to even install it on the person's computer. So that stuff is just invaluable. And so
really convenient.
All those kind of things.
Yeah. I didn't know that about Reaper. That's incredibly convenient.
Oh, it's great. And just so many things like effects chains. Like you could save, like you have 8 different plugins with 8 different settings. You could save that as an effects chain. Open a new track, hit that effects chain, all those settings pop up in one track. So you have like these vocal presets. All your anything you can customize in your brain and think about, you can do in Reaper. Whereas Pro Tools tries to be a little more standard. So trying to get features to put in there a little quicker, it just doesn't happen as quickly. But if you can think about it, you can probably do it in Reaper in some possible way.
Now, Kenny, Reaper can natively import Pro Tools files too, correct? Import and export, right?
You mean open a Pro Tools file in Reaper?
Yeah, doesn't it have some a way to natively import what the Pro Tools files without having to go through any major conversion thing or something?
Not that I know of, but I don't want to confirm or deny that. Not that I know of. I usually just make audio stems and put them in.
What about the OMF protocol? Is that still in effect and stuff like that?
I don't really, like I said, I've never really done it that way. I usually, if I have to do something, let's say I'm going to comp vocals and I'm working in Pro Tools, I'll just make a stem without vocals, and then I'll just pick all my vocal tracks, put them on their own track, and just bring them right into Reaper. So I don't go through OMF or any of those kind of setting things.
I'm going to have to try that one of those days. See, that's one of those things where, like I said, interrupting my pattern and trying something different. I've been wanting to do that with that program because I've heard enough about it consistently to talk about that this is something really worthwhile knowing about and messing with, you know. So.
And it's definitely one of those things where in the beginning it's 2 steps backwards to get 1 step forward. You know, you're going to be slower at first to get anywhere with it. But when you start realizing things you can do, like comping takes in Reaper, you can just do with a keystroke. When you take 1, hit 1, 2, 3. It's just so much quicker than have to grab it. Like in Pro Tools, you got to grab a menu to go to take 1, go to take 2, take 3. Where here you just go take 1, take 2, take 3, and then just hit P for comping them. They all comps to 1 track, and then you have a comp. You know, so some things like that, it's no-brainers. But like I said, there are drawbacks to other things. So I'm not going to say it's perfect, and everyone should switch tomorrow. But it's good to have more.
They all got their own things. Yeah. Well, it's just like Studio One. I love Studio One. It's got some things, you know, that are really masterful for workflow. But then other things where it's like, man, I wish I could do this that Pro Tools does so easily, you know. So yeah. Have you ever messed with Studio One? Kenny, I'm asking you, have you ever messed with Studio One? Did we lose you?
Reaper, you know, that is just invaluable.
I must be losing something. Guys, can you still? Everybody still hear? Okay, because I think.
Yep, we got you.
I hear.
Okay. Kenny, did you hear what I was asking about Studio One?
I thought so. I thought I responded.
Okay. Oh, you probably did. I think.
Broke up. Try it again.
Want me to repeat it?
Please do.
Yes. Sure. Well, in the thing with Logic, for example, it's so easy to create sounds in that. You can open a new track, choose, I guess it's instrument track, or whatever you call it, and then just go over to the preset on the side and the right, and just choose your preset. You know, you can't do that as easy in Pro Tools. You can't do that as easy in Reaper. You know, those are much more audio-based programs, where a program like Logic is very GarageBand friendly. So you bring a 9-year-old to a computer and go, you want to get a piano sound? You have a piano sound within like 3-4 seconds. You know, drum sound. You just go and then just go to all the presets, and they can just click different things and try the presets. Whereas in Pro Tools, you got to go, well, the instrument plugins are in this folder. You could choose one of them. This one's good for organ. This one's good for piano. It doesn't really have good synths, though. You know what I mean? There's no explanation in Logic. It just does all that stuff for you. You know, it knows what presets work with which modules. So doing those things like that, it's just better to do that stuff in Logic. So, like you said, every DAW has their own thing they're good at.
Yeah, and one of usually like one is more. It depends on what you do. If you're a songwriter and producer, then Logic and Studio One and stuff like that for the creative process, I think is a little bit better for that type of workflow. But for engineering and mixing and you know stuff like that, you just can't beat Pro Tools. They just got it right in a lot of areas for that type of workflow that you need.
Right. Just keep it so simple.
Yep. What's up, Dave? I see Dave made it back home. How you doing, man?
Hey man, I'm cool. I was just battling that freeway. Sorry.
I know. I know you were. Yeah, I came back to. I was out there. It was hot in the mug.
Yeah.
You know, we were just talking kind of in general about. Well, we covered a lot of different ground so far, but you said we got some great stellar guests on here today, and what's going on with you, bro?
Not much. Just getting ready for a big week, and I'll be able to talk about it soon. So I just been studying up, man.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
Trying to just stretch the envelope, man. You know.
That's what's up.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And hey, and I see we got Charles on here too, and we haven't heard from Charles. Charles, if you want to talk to us, come on in and say something, Brian.
Yeah, he's typing. He's typing on the side. Charles has a house party going on behind him, so it's a little bit of mayhem. But
Okay.
he's been chiming in on the text messaging.
Oh yeah, I see it over there. Yeah, yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah, everybody's partying on this, but that's cool. Cool. I know what I was going to ask. Bill. Okay. You were on the Hangout the other day with were you on there with Brad? Did I see you on there with Brad?
I wasn't on the Brad one. I was on the Bob one.
The Bob one. That's the one I'm thinking about too. So yeah, and actually, I ought to send out a message to those guys because I was having these problems with my computer, so I can't even recall. What were some good things on theirs as well? Because we are doing a lot of things from a lot of viewpoints with a lot of different people, and I love like the people that are on the East Coast have a whole nother workflow approach. So you guys, what was some good stuff that you learned from dealing with Bob and those guys talking?
Well, mainly what they're trying to do right now is get around the issue of all these major studios closing and people not having any place to, whatever, be interns or get any type of hand-me-down knowledge at all. So basically the schools keep kicking people out, and not kicking them out, but I mean the schools keep graduating people who are now supposedly audio engineers, and people like myself learn off the internet, but we're not learning from people who actually did the stuff already. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of reinvention of the wheel. There's a lot of, as you've said yourself about these Hangouts, those opportunities to be in a studio where a bunch of other people are and hang out in the halls and meet people and talk about techniques and network and all that stuff is not available. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do over here. We're trying to figure out what we can do as far as networking, being sociable, and also educating people who, they're serious about doing this, but they don't really have the opportunity to get into any kind of major studio and work for somebody.
Yeah. I hear you. It's a great time because we can spread our wings a little more worldwide, but it's also, like you said, of those things that like we had a chance to come up with. There's something different about being able to be in the room and look over somebody's shoulder, even when you can't ask questions. Just being in there and feeling the energy of the room,
Totally.
and watching what's happening in real time. That's a whole different type of experience. So we're coming as close as we can to it now. With so many people pitching in from so many angles, it's the next best thing right now. The way we're doing this.
Yeah, I think also, man, what we're looking at is, many of us are watching the new evolution of not only our business, but just how knowledge is learned. Because a lot of what they want to experience, even in studio ownership or operating a small room, being independent, all those things are stages that we've all either been through or we've seen in the growth process, just being an independent engineer. So when you look at the business, and the business, as when a lot of people refer to it, is talking about the majors who make records. We're really no longer in an environment where the majors are holding all the work. A lot of the work that occurs is independent. A lot of the work that occurs is other. And it's just as viable. And I think that's the confusing thing for a lot of people who came along when the time was right, and you relied on the industry to support you with all the work and to keep giving you work, in essence, forever. Like, it wasn't really going to be like that, but you can't tell somebody when they're in the flow of it that it was ever going to change. You know what I mean? Especially back in the day with hit records and things like that, you thought that pace was going to last. You know, nobody ever thought that they would literally stop making records. We'd stop making CDs. We go to the digital world we're in now. So there's a lot of things that change, and we're kind of watching all that. We're kind of watching this metamorphosis of not only the independent engineer, but the environment, the small environment, the large environment, workflow, all of it's converging. You know.
That's true. That's true, for sure. You know, it's...
How's it going, everybody? Sorry about that.
What's happening?
This is Charles.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey.
What's
What's up,
Okay,
man?
I got a little. I'm in the bathroom right now, but I want to touch on.
Too much information, Charles.
Right, TMI, TMI.
I'm glad you got the icon up there, the logo up there instead of the, we don't need no real time shots.
I'm in the bathroom right now.
Yeah.
The internet first.
Oh, you know, get away from the. Get away from.
He just wanted that. He just wanted that nice small room reverb.
Yeah.
This hangout going to the dumps, man. What's up?
Yes, and
You got anybody in there with you?
On what Dave said, also what you said. That you guys were saying about how we as we in our industry we used to go into big studios and we can look over somebody's shoulder and say, hey, you know what, I feel a hot spot, I hear a hot spot, you know what, touch this, touch that, to give some type of assistance. And with the digital world, I will say that I'm in Santa Cruz right now. This is where I live, and I'm close to to Silicon Valley, which is the Avid. Avid has their own spot here in Santa Cruz, downtown Santa Cruz, and I spoke with them. They're actually coming out with a software that it's something like how we do our Hangouts, right? But the program on the iPad where where we can actually talk, can actually touch the actual it's what do you call it? Like a multi what do you call it? Like a multi software where everybody can touch. You know what I mean? Like a fade, a nice fader. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
and
basically,
so they're coming up.
What you're saying is community.
This thing where Avid's coming up with. Exactly. Okay, there we go. And so I think that's the next level of where we're trying to go as well too. So
Yeah, that's a dangerous level.
Out the kinks as far as the touch goes.
No,
I think we're so used to touching knobs and twisting knobs and pushing faders and pushing buttons that it has to be fast. It has to be whatever the internet or the bandwidth has to be. It has to be fast enough that we can make those real. So I think it's on its.
Yeah, I think community mixing. While I understand, the premise, because everybody wants to pool their information, I think that's great. I think where it gets dangerous is when you get into the business aspect of our business, which is basically when you entering into a community mix scenario, how do you create a rate that everybody can make money off of, and then how do you keep somebody from coming to the community with, hey, let's just mix this for fun, and then they're going charging for it. Meanwhile, everybody on the call mixed the record. You know what I'm saying? There's ultimate levels of mistrust connected with the ability to touch everyone's work simultaneously. Not to say I don't trust my fellow man, but I don't trust my fellow man. So, with technology comes great, moderation. Moderation. The ability, just because we can have everybody touching it doesn't mean we should.
Are you talking about for educational purposes or for actual?
You know what? That's the magic word that starts the fight, because we could say anything's for education. I could go to the middle of a war and tell you I had special bullets that I was studying for educational purposes, but they still killed people. So education is one of the most misused terms that we have, even in our business, because it can mean anything. People use education as the magic sliding door to, I'm going to go in here and now I've got something to say. And it's not always like that. Sometimes
It's called beta.
situations are in fact work situations, and you need to be able to commit to them and do them. And part of that is just protecting the chain of information while you're doing it. So, I get what they're trying to do. As a company, they're trying to create a way to probably have themselves looked upon a little bit more favorably than just putting out super expensive hardware every 8 to 10 years.
But it looks to me like
putting out updates, it's.
But it looks to me like they're going to do but more for the post-production studios, where if you have a situation where you have one of those big places where you have 30 engineers all working on the same movie at the same time, now they could all be able to touch each other's stuff. Like, I don't see Pro Tools.
But that's already available by Apple.
That's already available, and then the whole world
connect and all that. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I mean the whole world is going to do post, just like you can't have everybody mixing records. Is everybody going to mix? If everybody mixes, who's going to cut records?
But the problem is that's already available as far as video. But the way that's done is that there's a server that has all the information, and you pull the information from the server to your client. So then you work on it, and then you update it. So once everybody gets the update, now they have the new version. So if you have somebody working on video and somebody working on audio, they can do that. That's one thing. But if we subtract the idea of community hands-on, that's what I've been waiting for a long time. And the issue, Charles, isn't actually speed. We have enough speed now. Like right now, my internet is 75 up, 75 down. If I wanted to, I could increase that to 150 up and down, or I can increase it to 300 up and down. That's not the problem. The problem is latency. So the reason why latency is a problem is because when I press stop or when I press cut or edit, I needed to do it now, not 2 or 3 frames from now, which could be thousands of samples from now. I need it to happen now. So that's what they have to work on, is the actual latency. And then, but then what that opens the door to is where I can do something like there is a computer at Khaliq's that has files on it, and I can mix from my house to Khaliq's house using his files, as opposed to him either having to send me files over the internet or send me a physical drive that I work on, and then I send him a project back. So that's what would help out, is once they figure it out where you can sit where you are and in New York, and you can edit or mix for somebody in Los Angeles on their own machine, and when you're done, they can just print it and do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's coming.
that's going to be groundbreaking when they do that. I mean, because that'll mean they solve the latency.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. This main thing with all these connectivity things and all that, because even now, like, it's pretty amazing right now what we're doing with these Google Hangouts, but there's still trade-offs and glitches that come with the territory, because obviously with so many people trying to do things at the same time, and data can only flow, it's pretty much flowing serially, but some of it may be going parallel, but for the most part, this is a serial protocol, so there's going to be some kind of latency involved, and that's what Bill said. That's the biggest problem. Somebody is doing it on their end, is doing it exactly when they need it to be done, but how it affects anybody else is inherently going to have something built in. Even when we're working right now on our DAWs, all DAWs still have latency. They've just reduced it where it's not noticeable, perceptible to the normal human ear, but it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, but when we get there, it's going to be a great thing, man. It really is. And that's going to change the game, even as far as education, real time, when you can see what somebody's doing. Because, like, right now, everybody's learning via video, which is a great medium. I know I've seen and learned things off of people that didn't exist when I was first got in the game to learn, so it makes me come back and review all the things and reappreciate some things. But it's not it's not a real-time experience, so it's different than, like I say, when I used to sit in a room, and the most I learned was when, sitting in there and watching these legends do stuff in real time, and they put you in the middle of it. They explain why you want to do it. Even something as simple as how we used to have to put tape on the faders and do a real-time mix with several people, 2 or 3 people lined up on the board in real time, and having to move up to tape points and move back at a certain time and feel parts, do it at the right speed, and that's a whole different experience, and us having gone through that was only accomplished through real time. Being in the room with the people, feeling the music at the same time, and feeling the energy at the same time, everybody at once. So when we get to that technologically, that's going to be an amazing time when we can all do that. Like Bill said, we can open up somebody's session on somebody else's machine using all their stuff, but we still have the real-time experience. We don't have to do it, then send them the files, they check it out, then send it back and all that. That's cool for now, but it's moving towards that other real-time experience, and that's going to be exciting.
As you were describing that, Khaliq, the funny thing is I remember some of the first sessions with moving fader automation, where it wasn't always working.
E-cam and all that. Yeah.
And the big thing was, oh yeah, they got moved faders on the mix, and so we'd spend all this time getting the system working. Inevitably, you would find yourself in that position for the song. You take those 8, I'll take these 8, you take those 8, and you'd be mixing via 3 people on the console just making passes. Because the cam wasn't doing what it was supposed to do that day, and you had spent maybe about a day or so trying to coax this thing into working. So just as those automation days were sluggish, because there's a lot of people now, they don't use the total mix capability of the SSL. They'll just do it inside of Pro Tools, or vice versa. They'll do it on the SSL. They won't use Pro Tools. But what it took to get from the point of you have it as a luxury to go to, and then it actually working consistently. That's a big step. That's just such a big step. So just the offering of it is great, but there's also that couple of year process that it takes to actually get from beta version to working reliable. Yeah, we got through a mix on it version. It takes a little while.
That's actually how I started with the audio for video thing. Was VHS tapes have left and right, so you would put all of your audio on the left, and then you would stripe SMPTE on the right.
Yep.
And then I would have session 8 following the SMPTE.
Yeah. Session 8. Wow, you went way back.
You went back, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now I'm sitting here with my Euphonics MC mix, and I'll watch a video, like I might watch a James Lugo video where he's got an actual SSL 4056, and I'm like, the faders don't move by themselves?
Yeah.
Like, how inconvenient.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
Man,
it's like the plug-in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like it was so unintuitive for me, because I just did not like it when the first SSLs came out. You remember it was the VCA automation, but you could only see it do its thing on the screen. The faders didn't move themselves,
Yeah.
And so I mean, and that was so unintuitive for me. I just couldn't get it,
Or even the luxury of having compression on each channel.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things, but you had to see it, whereas I was used to just grabbing something. Like I said, I was one of those guys in the room where you had to grab it and feel it. And then like Dave was saying, because Dave used to have to come in and be one of the guys to fix it. So you'd see the fader maybe moving like 3 seconds later than the automation that you actually put in.
Wow.
You got to listen to be sure it's actually playing, because you could not use your eyes and it throw you. The fader's jerking and then going, all this.
And if you think about what was going on, I mean, I hate to flash back on y'all, but you got to remember, for a big console, you've got a servo motor, just a little tiny motor on every fader that's taking a command from a microprocessor That's, you know, so you got a lot of things going on there where you're trying to get these happy accidents to occur simultaneously. So there's something like, oh, let me catch that thing, and you know how many times you listen to something, you want to catch something on the fader, and you hit it real quick. Just the simple act of trying to catch something real quick. If it goes too quick, you can send that computer into a frenzy because it's trying to track all this information on these faders, every move that's made, and just get these servos to act right every time. And
yeah.
these are like
And the servos were analog, so they weren't even translating digital information.
no.
They had rubber bands that moved them. There were rubber bands on them.
Yeah. So people don't really understand like the whole amazing thing about it was that, wow, just for this physical thing, we've got all this and then all the noise associated with it. In the beginning, everybody thought it was amazing when they first showed it at some of the first shows, and you see the console moving, the faders move all by itself. But then when you get in the silence of a studio and you go, man, what's that noise? And you're hearing,
Yeah.
And that's let alone if you could get it to do what it's supposed to do. But I think those things had to happen technology-wise in order for us to arrive at a point where we've got some really decent options to go to on any of these DAWs. They have a concept of mixing based a lot on what was going on there. Even the way that the consoles are laid out digitally on some of the DAWs come directly from that mentality. So, that's the interesting thing with software as opposed to hardware, to see the ramp time between concept and actual usability. I think that it's probably going to be shorter on the software side, but it should be exciting either way. I look forward to seeing what people do, when they don't have to go through that whole period of time of trying to massage it into being. Because, I think that's the convenience of plugins. When something doesn't work or has a bug, you just call the company and then everybody gets to work on it. And that's a lot more convenient than where we were, where we used to actually have to have hardware fixes. Because we were trying to get moving parts to pay attention to one another.
Hey Dave, I want to ask you something real quick, Dave, because you've got more of an insider look. Probably we talked earlier about Waves is coming out with this sound grid. They had their old sound grid concept of putting everything in one place, and we weren't 100% sure, but I thought I read that it's not supposed to be just their plugins, but you can put everything within this one sound grid system and be able to access it via the cloud, so that you can access it no matter where you're at, what system you're at. Am I correct on that, or am I?
Yeah, you are, and it's gonna allow you to do a bunch of things. You should go to the website and check it out. There's gonna be more
That's exciting.
stuff coming out about it, and actually Tuesday I'm gonna be doing a pretty in-depth video presentation of a large facility that's already using it pretty extensively, and so we'll have more on there. Maybe I'll have some stills for you, but it's a really good system. I think it was the natural progression from where they were going, and it allows you to use your plugins not only from studio, but you can, if you want to use it in a live medium, you can use it in a live medium, and you can do a couple. What's that?
Can you blend hardware within the sound grid as well?
I believe so, and it would rack and all that. Yeah, you can blend hardware, multiple DAW use, and even you can I think you'd be able to work between the people that you work with. So if you work with a group of other people, you can be able to work between you guys with what you have.
Yeah, and then from what I understand, that if something happens where you lose connectivity to the internet, to the actual sound grid, there is an alternative where it goes down to the normal onboard processing as well. Yeah. And it all happens invisibly and automatic, correct?
Yeah, and they have a couple of different boxes according to configuration that you're with, but it actually makes sense when you think about the evolution of not only the Waves product, but the plug-in market in particular. It makes sense that it makes the natural progression to be able to be more complex across multiple DAW formats.
Oh yeah, cool.
It just makes it easier, because I came on the call at the last part of what you were talking about with the iLocks and stuff. But just, you got to figure iLock technology is what, over 10 years old, right? Pro Tools HD is over 10 years old. We're talking it's almost 20-year technology, right?
Yeah.
From the first time HD appeared, Khaliq, you and I did some of the first stuff before it even came out. And at that time, the iLock was a new concept, but it was there from the start. So that's a long time for that technology to stay in place. It has to make progress. You have to go to another place because we've had so many issues with copy, what do you call it, hot software and things
Piracy,
like that. Piracy, that they have to go to a higher level of usability. And so, but again, sometimes when you look at these products and products that have been a long time in the marketplace, realize how long they've been there. So, 20 years is a long time for a product line. It's a long time for a product line. So you really got
5 years is a long time.
5 years.
20 years is ancient.
But 20 years is a long time for a product.
One thing I was going to say about the technology stuff, Jason was snapping a little earlier about the SSL plugin versus the console and all that, but it's like when you learn on the plugin, and then like if you were to go what I call backwards to a console, then you're like, well, what do you mean you can't automate the EQ? What do you mean you can't? Because you're doing certain processes.
Yeah.
If you look at some of these manuals, then they're like, okay, the only actual, we'll give you recall, like we'll tell you where it was when you shut the computer off, but as far as actual automation, you get your fader, you get a solo, and maybe like one or two other things that you get, so you got to work with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. That's a good thing about when you make yourself go back to basics and things like that. That's a very good point too, Bill, because what it does is it makes you say, okay, what are my core skills? Because guys were making great sounding records without being able to automate all the parameters in there. The parameters and stuff are extra. That stuff came as extra ability. But if you lost all that, could you go in and would your mix still sound great because you have an understanding of how to actually get in and turn the EQ and make it sound right without and put the compressor on and use the gates and the side chains that are built in there the way it started and moving forward. And you are absolutely right, man. Some people would be totally lost if they had to go backwards. They'd be like, oh, what do? I can't automate. Well, you got to know your basics first. You should be able to take all that off and still get it done.
Right. And so many arguments on Pensadia with people about this exact thing. So many. It's unbelievable. How many of you could actually get on a console and actually mix a record? No EQ automation, not having 35 1176s on every channel. How do you guys actually do this? And I'm not dogging them, so I don't want it to be taken that way. It's just another mentality. I mean, I remember the days of getting on consoles, like you guys were saying, 4 or 5 guys in a room. This guy's got 8 faders, this guy's got 8, this guy's got 8, and everybody's trying to get the automation just right, making 10, 15 passes till it sounds exactly like you want it to sound. Now you can do it in 10 minutes in Pro Tools, all by yourself, and you ain't got to worry about it. It's just a totally different headspace, and for me, I think we've kind of lost some of the creativity with it. I mean, I watched something a couple weeks ago with. I watched that video that CLA and Bob Clearmountain did. And my favorite part of that whole video is when CLA talks about, he pulls out the tape machine, he's going to do real tape flange. And one of his one of his interns goes, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Just hold on and watch." And he does actual real tape flanging. And the intern that's working with him goes, "Oh, it's like the plug-in." For me, that was just like the moment of clarity. I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah. Oh, that's when you know you've been in the game too long.
Well, Bill hit the nail on the head, like he said. The reverse engineering thing, because it's just like him saying, "Oh, it's like the plug-in." No, the plug-in's trying to be like it. That's where it came from. And if you understand that, then that lets you go in any scenario and recreate it. If you lost all your plugins, but you needed a flange sound, if you know the concept of what your stuff is based on, it doesn't matter. You can create it. You know.
Yeah, and I think consequently, if you want to, if you were raised in a state where you never experienced an SSL, one way you can challenge yourself, because see, the plugins give you time. The one thing that everybody who operates in the DAW state right now has is you have time. Back then, we didn't have time or the luxury to be trying 50 million things. You were limited by what was around you. So one way to kind of maybe test what you know is to take the SSL and strip it down to only the choices that you have on a real SSL. And then be satisfied with the sonic levels that you achieve on each of your sounds, that's what you're going to mix, and then go after and attempt to mix like you were on a real console with limited options. The thing that happens is you can get so lost in the unlimited options that you never settle on making a decision that's based on the song. You're making a decision that's based on all these after effects, and that's one thing that not having the luxury of time kind of put us under a constraint. You have to finish. You have to finish. You have to finish. So it wasn't about this thing of just, oh yeah, I got unlimited, man. I just got the Joe Meek. I just got boom. You know, it wasn't about all that. You know, and so sometimes you can learn if you put some limits on it. No different than what Khaliq was saying early on. When you really want to do something, cover up all the meters and mix for what you hear, and then you can see how you really mixing, what you're pegging, and what's going on, because it's really that simple. Limit yourself to some things, because a lot of the options will get you under the luxury of thinking, okay, now this is it. But sonically, sometimes when you listen to a lot of great music that was done, it arrived at great music because they didn't have options. You know what I'm saying? They made a choice using what they had, and they were satisfied that you know what, it's cool. Here's where it is, and we're gonna ride this out. A lot of those hits that you guys listen to, it was nothing but people riding faders. It wasn't always automated mixes. It was people riding faders. It was mostly people riding faders.
I think another one of the problems with lack of limitations is that people don't. They make so many plugins all the time, and people are switching plugins all the time, and they're really not getting to the bottom of what they can do with a particular thing. So they might have Metric Halo Channel Strip 3, right? And then somebody makes a compressor, and they go, oh, wow, I can do this and that with this compressor. I'm going to get it. And I'm like, you don't know you can do that with the Metric Halo already?
Already.
Yeah.
You can already do it right now, but you did not do enough research. You're so busy buying the next plugin and going for the next fad. You know.
How many flangers do you really need?
But who knew Rack Gear was going to be this cheap, right?
Right.
If we all knew Rack Gear was going to be this cheap, we would never have bought Rack Gear. Khaliq and I are so pissed when we look at all the plugins, because I'm going like, man, you know how much Rack Gear we bought in our lifetime?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like
I got 3 lexicons sitting in my closet that get no use. 3 of them.
Right. It's like they have this plugin that's I think it's called Auto Align, which will basically do what you would have done anyway, which is zoom into the waveform, see where they are, and if you gotta pull something over, just pull it over and line it up. That's what it does, right? But people, oh wow, auto align is so great. You got to use auto align and blah blah blah. It's like if you knew how to align to begin with, you would need auto align. Yeah, it's faster. It's faster, just like what's the one for Vocaline? Just like Vocaline is faster. If you really don't want to go ahead and cut up background vocals and match up the S's and T's and all that stuff, if you don't want to do all that stuff, Vocaline will do it for you. For your $700, that's fine.
You might as well have a plugin called Think For Me.
Right.
Easy mix. Think For Me. I'm gonna go have coffee.
Right. Hey, this is the Bring Me Coffee plugin.
If I could just jump in here for a second, though, I think it's important that we realize that we don't hang our hat too much on the fact that we know how to do it the hard way. Because you do have to realize that the next generation doesn't really care. And if they're going to be the creative movers in this industry, they're just going to move past us if we hold on to the I can do it the hard way thing. And I'm not knocking that because I can do it the hard way as well. I cut my teeth on, cutting up 2-inch tape, making 8 pieces of every chorus, and I've done all that stuff. But if I hold on to the these kids don't really get that, then I've lost a beat. I've lost a beat because they're going to do that automatically, and they're going to go beyond that because they're not holding on to this how hard that thing is. And when we talk about something like an auto line plugin, I agree with you. It's better to know how to do it, but in the future, that's going to be built into the DAW, and it's going to do it automatically. So the next generation is not even going to think about that plugin either. All the automatic processes are going to be done automatically first. It's the creative things that can't be taken away. The songwriting, the ideas, the arrangements, those things you still need to hold on to. But if we get caught up in the technical thing and I can do it the harder way by rewriting the code, we lose a step because the next generation is not going to have to deal with that stuff. All the auto-tune stuff, it's going to be automatic anyway. The Easy Mix 2 plugin, for example.
Part of what I said is just challenging yourself. Anybody who's creative is going to need to challenge themselves because just because you can do it fast and you're the fastest doesn't mean you're the shit. Okay? So if you really want to strive to be the shit, part of what you need to do is change your game around and be able to do it. So my suggestion was to see if you really are that sharp and you are that quick, intentionally work with limitations. And musicians do it all the time. Okay? Musicians do it all the time to stretch. They're not going to play this, they're not going to play that, I'm going to play this. It's the same thing. So in order to get some new tricks in the creative bag, they're going to have to reach back to the knowledge, but we're not saying you got to use the knowledge. We're just like we did it. What we're saying is limit yourself because it's going to make you make some decisions that are based from another place. And that is going to give you a new look at creativity as well as your quick and fast way. Everybody's not going to, just because you can make instant milk don't mean you got to drink instant milk all the time. No,
but there are some creative things we can do now we could never have done back then. The filter sweeps we can add on to things. You could never have done that before. And if you stay in that mentality of how would I have done this analog, you can never do those things because it's not impossible. So I think you have to realize the next generation of producers are pushing the limits of these things. Like for instance, look at Pixar. If they held on to how would you have to do this stuff? How would you make Toy Story 20 years ago? They're never going to be able to move that technology further. The movers and shakers of the industry are constantly moving that stuff forward. They're not going, well, how would they have done that back in the day with Disney? It's like they're just thinking ahead. So I think it's important to balance that and not just go, well, that was so much harder, and we're the guys who can still do it the hard way and hold that to ourselves.
Yeah, but what do you?
Hey, well, one thing that I don't think anybody here is advocating doing it the hard way. We've all been teachers for quite a few years now to teach. Or the thing that everybody, I think, all of us do is say, embrace all the new things. But the distinguishing thing is that for longevity, you have to at some point go back and understand what your industry is built on, or else when you get thrown a curveball and they say like you were saying, Kenny, the stuff is going to come built in where it automatically vocalizes, automatically track, it's already doing it. But because people like us that know where it came from when none of this existed, and when we do this and we pay it forward by passing on and saying, hey, just because it's older, don't ignore it. Understand this is why this plugin does this, because it's built on this. And if you have that understanding, if you are ever in the need to make a left turn real quick because your technology failed, now that's the only thing you looked at. If you understand the foundation, you can go back and recreate it. Any of us right now, if any of our digital delays go out, any of our plugins go out or whatever, and we had to make a session happen, we all know how to go in and make a delay happen with tape, with anything that's around, with the physics of air and how we know sound travels and all that, by having a foundational understanding. And this is the danger that I think that I see this all the time too. So like a lot of times when I'm speaking and things like that, and I know Kenny probably when you're speaking and everything, a lot of people will come back and say that there's a lot of people going to school and things out here, and then when they actually get put out into the real world, it's almost like they never went because they'll have the technical knowledge, but they don't have the ability to move immediately. So because they don't have the understanding, they just have the technical knowledge. I hear it time and time again from a lot of people that are out there, and where they get it is once they get thrown into the mix and then get the real time understanding. And a lot of times that means you have to learn it all and understand, okay, this guy's trying to do this, and the reason why is because it was all based on. You mentioned Will I Am earlier. One thing that impressed me about Will was when we were working with the thing, and he came in, it was me, him, and Herbie one day, and he pulled out his MacBook Pro and opened up a song and started playing it because we were trying to figure out some parts and everything. And he pulled up a song and started playing this one song, and it had some amazing sounds and chord progressions and everything. And Herbie was grooving and everything. And he was like, "Man, I like that. I like that, man. Who's that keyboard player? That guy's, sounding good. I like that progression that he did there and everything." And Will turned around and looked at him and said, "Man, that's you." He was like, "What? That's me." He's like, "Yes." Herbie has done so many sessions, he can't possibly remember all the stuff he was on, so he didn't recognize or whatever. He just knew that he liked the creativity on there. But what impressed me about Will was he knew exactly where to go. He went back old school through this old stuff that even the source didn't know. He did his history and knew the foundation of what was trying to be built. And so because he had a foundational knowledge, he was able to go back even though he wasn't even existing when this thing was recorded. So that's what I think is the important thing that we all got to remember, is that we pay it forward to these people and realize that no, don't go back and do it the hard way. Nobody's advocating that, but understand where it came from so that you understand that, yeah, it was hard back then. You can do it a lot easier now, but understand what the foundation is built on. That way you can always go back no matter what. Dave, what were you going to say? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I had to kind of step in with that.
That was cool. That was it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just that it's just time and time again I see it with even clients that are mainstream stars in certain genres now, right? They're going back and they're learning the basics. They may have had a hit in this particular style, but in order to be having a career and sustaining themselves, they're going back and learning some things, not because they're going to try and do it, but because they need a bigger selection of tools. You can't just keep going. If you came in, and I came in, and I got a couple of guys, they came in on the crest of hip-hop or rap, right? So they've got to refine their toolkit. Part of them says, okay, I'm going to take some music lessons. I'm going to learn some structure. I'm going to learn what these musician guys know. I'm going to play behind it. I'm going to have a band play behind me. They're taking the thing to the next level because they're trying to last and survive. And that's all I'm saying, is that you can look at something that happened in the past. You don't have to take on the mentality that we did. But if you look at it another way, there's a bunch of information there you can reverse engineer and learn. And help you make some selections for today. Because everything's cyclical in this thing. It goes round and around. It goes round and around. The things that happen in music, the things that happen with songs, I just think there's many roads to China. So there's no one way that's always going to work. For each person, it's going to be a specific thing because they all have strengths, creative.
Right. I just don't want to get lost in the idea that we've figured it out, and now the young generation needs to learn everything we know, because they do. But we also need to figure out what they're doing and see, wow, they're going in a different creative way because they're not being held back by some of the things that held us back.
Right. Well, their mind has less in it. Their mind has less in it. We've been on the planet longer. We got other things that weigh in that prohibit us from being as free. But we can still study them and learn how they think. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. Just like there's nothing wrong with reverse engineering, there's nothing wrong with forward engineering. Okay, which is looking at what they do and imagining, gee, what would it be like to be 18 and have a drum machine inside my computer and just be already competing for major market position in the studio. That'd be great, and you could put yourself in that headspace or whatever, and you can learn something from it there. You can learn how to make decisions on the fly without knowing anything. You know, get in a room of people who don't know anything about music, right? And they're all working on a major artist, and you're there, and you're in whatever capacity, engineer, whatever. You're going to have to figure out a way to dumb it down and figure out how to talk to the room in a way where you're not insulting them, but you're still able to make a contribution. Even though you know a lot just by your sheer years on the planet, you've got a room full of people you got to navigate who are in the shot calling position, and they don't have a clue. But you're all there to do music, right? So we got a ton of things that we learn from them, and part of the thing that we learn is just where they get their clues from. A lot of times, especially, and I hate to use an example, but it's an easy example with the genre of rap and hip hop. When you start to talk to these guys and find out where they learn their music from, it's the music of their parents that they listen to, right? And the music of their parents gave them clues to structure and to what they were doing in order to make the selections that they did that got them whatever that got them noticed. So a lot of times, if you talk to people, you'll find the correlation takes you back to something that's very real that you can have as a commonality. But the thinking forward thing, we do that all the time. We do it all the time. In fact, it's very easy to do when you watch, because you have those years on you. It's very easy to pick up on people's creativity when you sit and watch them. And you watch how they do what they do and what they.
You know how to listen. You know how to listen. You know how to learn much better.
Yeah, you know how to listen, learn, and look, and you know how to. You know when creativity enters the room. That's the biggest advantage we all have in just being around a long time, is you can recognize the creativity when it enters the room in different forms. You can recognize the individuals. You can recognize when the individuals talk to one another, and then when something is being formed. And that's our biggest thing that we have to pay attention to, because that's what we're there for, is the capture. We're trying to capture all this and guide everybody to the same place at once. So, but yeah, you can learn a lot, man. I can't tell you how much I learned. I learned, oddly enough, I learned from my 6-year-old playing Legos, right?
Yeah.
So when things get tough for me and I can't figure some things out, I will literally go play Legos. And I've gotten two genius things that came to me playing Legos. So don't discount Legos.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, because 6-year-olds don't have nothing going on. They ain't got no bills. They ain't got no pressure. They ain't got no Pro Tools information. They ain't got no old automation information sitting around their head. They just got 6-year-old choices that are real cool because they just want to free their mind and get whatever this thing is built with the limited number of Legos they have, right? So it seems silly, but it's not, because it's coming from the same place. It's coming
No, I
from
totally agree. I watch some of the students I deal with that are like in the 12-year-old range, and you watch them edit, and they don't necessarily have to get everything perfect because they don't have that left brain mentality that most of us do, where every edit has to sound right and the crossfades and all these things, so they don't get lost in taking 3 hours to cut something that's going to wind up being 3 minutes. They'll do it in like 6 minutes because they just bang it out. But that right brain creativity is so much faster for them because they're not getting lost in getting things right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Well, that's exactly how we did.
I think people also don't bring money up enough in these conversations, because money is obviously a factor in what you can do and how quickly you can change directions as far as what you're using or what you're doing. So a lot of times you'll see people on internet websites saying, okay, I'm going to sell this hardware so I can buy that hardware, which I want to get. It's like they can't just buy it on their own. They've got to get rid of something that they already have. They can't keep stacking things up. So first of all, they've got to decide to sell it. Then they've got to try to sell it. Then they've got to actually sell it. Then they've got to find the hardware they want to buy next. Then they've got to install it. Then they've got to find out if it works for them. It's a very slow process. And it's the same thing with plugins. It's like, if you're dropping, if you get the sales, if you're dropping $99 each on the sales on Slate plugins, it's going to take some people a long time to get the whole collection that they want. Other people are just going to buy it all at the same time and move forward. So I don't think that, it's all well and good to say, oh, well, you can do this with free plugins, or you can do this with stock plugins and blah, blah, blah. But I think that people don't pay enough attention to the difference that it makes if you're actually throwing money at this. You know, if you're actually shelling out $1,000 for UAD and then another $200 for this compressor or $300 for that compressor, and it's got a particular sound that you're not getting from anything else, you're going to move ahead compared to the person that says, okay, I'm going to try to emulate that using all these free plugins that I found on these websites. You know,
And hey,
so
Bill, And hey, Bill, you made a great point earlier too, because it's like, people aren't actually digging into the capability that they already have. It's our natural human tendency to want new. But quite frankly, we've all seen demonstrations of, say, for example, Tony Maserati has admitted how many mixes he's done just off of his laptop with stock plugins that came with it. If you know what
right.
you're doing and know your foundation and really know your tools, that shiny object syndrome will go away. It doesn't become as important because you know what the heck you're doing with what you got.
Yeah, and I also think that it's kind of a chicken and an egg situation, because without the system as it was of people being able to, let's say, intern in a major studio where you could hear what a real 76 sounds like, you could hear what a real 2A sounds like, blah, blah, blah. Now you have people who don't have any of that information. So, like for me, I think the first plugin I got that wasn't stock was Satson, which is console emulation, which is similar to what VCC does. And that changed the way I mix entirely. Just running Satson into the red was getting me whatever the harmonics, whatever you want to call it, the saturation, distortion, that was making each individual track sound tougher, therefore making the whole song sound tougher. And I wasn't having to add all of these compressors and EQs and all that stuff, because I liked what I was getting directly from Satson for the most part. So I think it's kind of a cycle. I think you have to actually, my suggestion to people would be demo everything.
Yeah.
Demo everything. Get those 14 days that they'll give you. Check it out, run it through its paces, and then see if you can do the same thing with the stock plugins.
Yeah, and then if you demo and it resonates with you, like me, I've got tons of plugins, and I'll be honest, I haven't dug into all of them. I'd be lying if I said I did, but there's several that resonate with me. So when it resonates with you, those are the ones you dig into and find your sound. But I remember when and several people have said it, but Dave Pensado said it in particular on one of his things, where it's like, how many compressors do you really need? Come on, guys, at some point, so we get them for you to try the different things. Like you said, get the demo and get the trial period and see if it may give you this one little extra thing so you have it in your toolkit as something different to go to. But the bottom line is how many do you really need if you really know what you're doing with it? When I was working with Teddy on something, and we had the Bricasti reverb. And for some reason, the hardware unit, and it went down. So it's right away, bam, we went to something else. And okay, because it's like, ain't nobody else going to know. We were so into the Bricasti mode, and that was the newest and greatest thing. We're going to get all the usage out of the Bricasti. But when it went down and we couldn't figure out what the heck was going on, it's like, just pop on something else, and bam, the song was still just fine. I can't even remember, because the different, I'm not saying the Bricasti isn't great. It's absolutely a fabulous thing, one of my favorite pieces of kit. But if it goes down, you just go to something else and dial it in and carve it in and place in that same thing. And the listening audience is not going to know the difference, if you get the feeling right and everything. So we get into all this stuff, Bill, and I'm glad you brought that point up too, because it just really means going back and centering back on square one, on a lot of these things. I can't tell you. I'll tell you one thing about when I used to play guitar, and I was in a band, and when I first came out here to LA. Now I had a 1964 Gibson ES335 semi-hollow body guitar. Cherry beautiful. Huh?
I said, okay, no, just.
I said I hate you, Khaliq. That's a beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. That was my baby. And I got out here to LA and like an idiot. It's still, you can see I'm emotional about this. I went down and was walking down Hollywood Boulevard to I saw this guitar shop, and they had a BC Rich guitar hanging in the window. It had like 6 pickups. 5 billion knobs on there, gold-plated, hardware. And all. It was so pretty and everything. And I went in and traded my '64 Gibson ES335 for that piece of crap guitar. That once I got it home, and I thought I was just going to, yeah, it's got more on it. It's bigger and prettier and more bright and glistening. It's got to be better. Sounded like crap, played like crap. I hated it, and I am kicking myself to this day.
Jason doesn't hate you
for the price.
Oh man,
Jason doesn't hate you anymore.
No, I don't hate you anymore. But another thing I was going to say about the plug-in thing, it's kind of like the guitar thing. Yeah, definitely there's that ooh shiny syndrome. You see something new that's supposed to do all this stuff, and it's supposed to be all cool, and it's going to be the savior, and it's this and it's that. But there's definitely that side of it. But the other side of it, I think in today's day and age, especially with the internet, it's keeping up with the Joneses. Your buddy's got all the Slate plugins, so now to be a mixer, to be as good as your buddy, you gotta have all the Slate plugins. He went out and he bought the Waves Mercury bundle, so now you gotta go buy the Mercury. Now you gotta go buy the Diamond bundle because you gotta have more than he's got. I mean, there's that whole mentality about it too, and all these people around that are just like, well, if you don't have this, they just have that mentality that if you don't have this, then you can't be. Or if you don't have this, you can't be. Oh, you got a Behringer this? Oh, that's got to be crap. Oh, the mentality of it drives me crazy.
Hey,
it really does.
Can I ask a group question? Does anybody think that you can't be a mixer without, what's his name? Stephen Slate?
Oh, bullshit, you can't.
I'm just asking. Don't get mad now, man.
I do, definitely.
I just want to know, does anybody think it's possible to have a career as an engineer without ever having Stephen Slate products? And this is nothing against Stephen Slate, but you're bringing up a good point. Do you think
I do definitely, except for the fact that
well, it's just like if you're a carpenter, can you build something without craftsman tools, like craftsman hammer and screwdrivers? Can you build without it, or whatever the stuff is out there, the name brand,
I know.
I think it's possible, but I do have to say
Dane Cook of Pro Audio.
Comprehensive. Sugar Platinum is comprehensive. So, if you're doing drum sample additions, that's pretty much all you need. But as far as the rest of the stuff, yeah, you can get over without it.
But yeah, I mean, even Trigger. I mean, you don't have to have Trigger. You can use Drumagog.
But
I mean,
you guys know what people did before.
You can use Drumagog. I would rather not use Drumagog, but yes, you can.
I firmly agree with you. I would much rather use.
Now that you mentioned, even Logic has its own drum replacement for stock for free. You can use that too.
Right.
Yeah.
If you got some drums, you can try
tools
those.
in the toolkit.
Good point, Joe.
What did you say, Joseph?
See what Jim said? If you got some drums, you can try those.
That doesn't make any sense.
But then that goes back to the old school way. I'm just.
Hey,
How many
yeah,
guys remember? You guys remember back in the day? I mean, when we had to use the AMS DMX delay to actually take in and get one drum hit in the room, trigger it with flip the switch, have it the one shot, and then manually put it back into a song and all that. Yeah. Oh, the pain. Anybody remember?
But it's just like, the only reason why I ask is because just like back in the day, you make a good point. Every major studio you went into, you had an AMS and a DMX sitting there in the rack. Every studio you went into, you had various and sundry teletronics, various and sundry standard things that you see. To this day, any large format studio you go in, you're going to see certain pieces. In order to be considered a large format studio, those pieces existed in that studio. So my question kind of grows off of that when he made the comment that, yeah, there's a lot of people that feel that you got to have this, you got to have that. I'm just interested to know, in this new mentality, is there a mass feeling that you must have certain products in order to be legitimate? I'm
I
just
just wanted to answer Joe's question. I got my drums right here. I got Guitar
don't
Hero
need
drums.
There you go.
I
There
got
you
Guitar
go.
Hero drums that are wireless that connect to the computer by junction, and I can
Yeah.
play the drums directly into the
This
DAW.
is
So I got
this
mine.
is what I got.
Okay, you guys
There
little
you
okay.
go.
And then you bring
Wait,
it all, and
Joseph,
then
I got, hey,
all the two drum
Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph, hold that up again, Joseph.
That's awesome.
There you go. That's all. I love it. That's awesome. I gotta get one of those. Oh, we got Basie Bob on. What's up?
What's up, Bob?
Uh-oh, he's got his trombone. All right, you guys.
Jason was trying to snap on my guitar, saying he hasn't
Yeah,
seen
that's
one of these in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
What you playing these
Why you
days,
gotta do that?
Jason?
Why you gotta do that to me, Bill? Why
What
you
are you
gotta,
playing these days, Jason?
you want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it. What you got?
I'm gonna have to whip it out.
Okay.
Uh-oh, yeah,
I'm whipping it out right now.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I hear you, Jason. But you gotta speak up so you get the big box. Say something. You can't just show it. You gotta say something.
All right, fine. Here you go. You got the big box, all right? LTD Deluxe. Man. That's what I'm playing now. And my brand new amp, my Randall Thrasher. Gotta throw some love out to the endorsers.
That's right.
There you go. You got it in.
You guys ever see one of these?
What you got?
Get your guitar out of the box.
How many pick? Oh, you got.
Yeah, that's that nice shiny piece of shit that you're talking about.
That's your BC Rich version, huh?
Yeah. No, that's a.
Careful.
Oh yeah, that's like one of them. That's like one of them old like Hondos or something, right?
It's a. It's a Kimberly.
I gotta pull out my little love too here.
Mhm.
Pull out my little baby.
Mm-hmm.
We doing the guitar thing, but I just got a little old school. This is one of them. I've held on to it for a while.
Y'all don't know about the wash
This thing's
burn.
got
Y'all don't know about the wash burn. There you
Oh
go.
yeah, we know
Les
about the
Paul
wash.
joint got the. Y'all don't know.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
I never learned how to play this thing. It's got too many knobs on it.
Too many, yeah, exactly. I got my Strat modified with all these switches and everything. I'm gonna get this whole thing replaced and go back to the 5 position toggle. Too much, no good.
That a Fender?
Daisy Bob, what's up with you? What's up, man?
What's happening, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We got you.
Okay, cool. This is like a gun show.
I know, right? Which way to the gun show?
Put your axes in the air.
And wave them like you just don't care.
That's right.
Oh yeah. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. I was hard drive shopping. Just got back to the studio.
Oh wow. Okay. What'd you end up getting?
I ended up getting the cheapest Western Digital I could find for $119 at Best Buy, 3 terabytes, which is just
3 terabytes for 119?
it's a pretty good deal. Yeah,
That's one of the
That's a great
passports.
deal.
it's like a my book. Western Digital is like the only drive that has the disclaimer at the bottom that says, drive recovery places will not, take this drive. So it's definitely
They do so much refurb work.
It's
Here you go,
not-
Bill. This one's for you.
There you go.
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah, he's like, in case you were wondering. Yeah. I hear you. What's going on? And we got Brad on here too. Oh, what's up, Brad? How you doing, man? Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Bob, I had just asked a question because they had a conversation going, and one of the things that was shared was that there's a general feeling now that you need certain plugins. That people are hot on certain plugins, and if you have them, then everybody considers you, I guess, viable. So my question was, much like in the past when we went by any major large format studio, we would see a DMX or AMS in the rack and see certain gear that made it a large format studio. is there a general feeling now that you've got to have certain pieces in order to be real? When I say real, I mean real engineer.
You know, I'm going out to LA actually next week to mix in front of 24 young producers, and you know, Mike Karen at Warner Brothers said, "Well, do you have to use your rig?" And I was like, "Well, I've got all my UAD stuff," and he's like, "Well, could you do a mix without your rig, just with like stock digi and wave stuff?" And so I'm gonna do one with each. I mean, I think in terms of your personal aesthetic, it might be more gratifying to use particular pieces or particular EQs, but I don't think that that makes you viable. I think that being able to blend and being able to make a record sound big with balancing is much more important than a plug-in. You know, I mean, honestly, I use as little plugins as I can, you know, personally speaking, just because they tend to still mangle the audio, even the best ones. And if it's a really well-recorded, you know, 10, 12 tracks of drums, I try not to put any compression on the individual channels. I might, you know, compress or EQ the whole drum kit, but I try not to mess with the phase. I mean, you know, Digi says that, you know, that everything is in phase because they're using, you know, you know,
delay
sort of like
compensation.
delay compensation for the latency, yeah. But I mean, the audio isn't even in time when you have no plugins with Pro Tools. So, you know, and it never has been. I mean, like every mastering engineer worth his salt has said that like Pro Tools doesn't track, and it never has, and it still doesn't, and it probably never will. It's something that's too late for those guys to fix. So, you know, there's a certain amount of inherent problems just working within a digital medium. I just try to minimize those problems. And definitely using lots of plugins is not my personal answer to getting a great sounding mix.
That's not really the question, though. The question is, do you have, you know, in order to look relevant in someone else's eyes, do you have to have X amount of gear?
Oh, you mean like
in relationship to like
you mean the show factor?
Yeah, the show factor. Right.
Well, I mean, that's why like Troy Germano always packed his gear with all of his AMSs and Neve modules. It was like, you know, you look at all that stuff in the rack and you think, okay, this is going to be a great record because there's all this gear in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of a marketing thing, I think, than a craft thing for me personally.
Cool.
Yep. Hey, Bob, too, if you're coming out here next week, be sure and let me and Dave know. Send us the information if we can. I'd love to stop by and hang out with you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm only in town for a day and a half. I fly in early the morning of the 15th. I'll be at the Atlantic Studios all day. Mixing, you guys are welcome to come by if you want. I'm going to do a live mix in front of 24 young producers and, you know, answer questions and, you know, hopefully convey some information. And then I'm turning around at lunchtime tomorrow the next day and coming home. So I'm not in town for a long time, but I'll probably be free that night. I'd love to hook up with you guys then.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Where are you going to be at?
I'm going to be at the old Solar Studios.
Oh, okay, right in Hollywood. Cool.
Yeah, it's where Mike Karen's doing his boot camp thing.
Cool. Okay.
That would be great. Dave, are you available? Why don't we go down?
Yeah, I should be.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool.
Awesome. Great
what time do you start?
I'm not sure. I think like 1, 2 p.m., something like that.
Okay, yeah. If you could, man, you got my email and everything, right?
Yeah. I don't have the final details on exactly what, you know, the schedule is, but I'm mixing 2 songs in one day, and I'm just headed from the airport straight to the studio, and then I'm gonna cut in, start working.
Cool. Okay. I'll send you guys a group email.
Yeah, that'd be great. How you doing, Bill?
Everything's good, man.
That was a good night the other night.
Oh yeah, we all got together, as we say, IRL. A lot of people from Bob's his last 2 hangouts. We all got together and broke some bread the other day. Fun times.
Oh really? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we did. In Williamsburg, it was fun.
Hey man, I missed you guys. When was it, last week or the week before? I was up in the Hamptons, but you know, it's 2 hours away from getting down there. What you got? Well, I actually was in I was in town for a little bit during the course of the day, but it was all busy. I wanted to reach out to you, but I didn't get a chance to. I reached out to Bill though. Next time I get up there, I definitely want to get a chance to hang out with you.
Oh, for sure, man. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jimmy.
great question. And what's up with you, Brad? Brad doesn't have his microphone. Brad, what's
Yeah,
going on? Is your,
Brad's got his mic. He just muted.
oh, you do? Or your mic? Is your mic? I think it's not working. He said no.
Oh, he's.
Do you still having audio problems, Brad? You can type it in because we can't hear you. Yeah, he's still having some audio issues.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah, I had purchased the same thing. My Mac Pro is dying out on me, man. So I got to get another one. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, my G drive is on its last legs. I was like, I gotta bust a move to Best Buy and get. It's gonna take a day to copy this shit.
Clone it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've got to clone my whole computer and go through the whole deal and get another one, and then that's going to be about $4 or $5 grand, and I'm like, oh, I'm not looking forward to this. But
I did it 2 weeks ago. Just bought a brand new drive, another backup drive, backed everything up all over again.
Right. What they say, if it doesn't exist in 3 places, it doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, yep. But it's all good. That's the life we live.
I don't find any joy in that part of it.
No.
You know, it doesn't. I don't like it. You know, when there's upgrades and you know you're talking about getting the latest and greatest new plugins and things. I'm not. I'm not really one to jump on that very quickly. It's just I'd rather spend my time with the music, and if I don't really need a plugin, then I don't really want to buy it. You know, but I do have one thing that I want to share with you guys that I found useful in my own workflow is. I donated some money to the Weather Vane and was able to get some nice tracks. And I started going through some of those plugins that I thought, well, yeah, this might really be something good. You know, this might fill a gap for me. And I found that it was I had a better ear working on someone else's material than on something that I recorded.
Sure. Definitely.
And you know, so I was able to kind of accomplish 3 things. You know, some education, donated to a good cause, and I could weed out some of those plugins that I had sitting there, wondering if they were going to do anything for me or not. You know, and
yeah, I think
I
that's
have a
really
tendency.
a good point.
Hello.
Yeah, I have a tendency to go to the same, you know, pretty much the same thing. You know,
I'm on my Hangout right now. I'll call you later.
I think that's a really good point, Joe. First of all, you know, shout out to Brian McTeer and Peter English over there at Weather Vane. They're doing some really good stuff. They've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now. But yeah, the thing is that since they're doing it their way in their own studio consistently, you get a consistent output.
Yeah.
You know, like you can get tracks from Cambridge, but they're coming from all over creation. So you don't know how they were recorded, you know, whatever. You don't know anything about it. But it's a pretty consistent and good sounding output from Weather Vane, which the value I found from that is that you can figure out, like you said, which plugins are going to do what for you. And then you could try the same ones on the next production, which happened in the same place, and see if they still hold true.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but that's a good thing to do, and I think it's just part of someone's mixing evolution. I think that as they go through and they listen to things, like now I have several micro shifters. You know, we were talking about the Eventide plugin earlier. I have the Sound Toys micro shift. Before that, I had the little micro shift, which is basically the same thing but fewer features. I have the UAD Cooper Time Cube. I have the UAD MXR flanger doubler. Like I have a bunch of things that do the same thing but differently. The same process, but they give you a different sound. You know, so you get to go through, and I have certain staple songs, like one of the Weather Vane songs I always mix is Sister Cities, you know, which is an indie rock song. And you know, if I want to test out new plugins, I put up sister cities, and then I put on the new plugins and see what I can do with them, because I already know what I did on sister cities with the other plugins.
Right.
And that helps me do that process that you were talking about, which is this one more interesting or more relevant, or does this one replace this one, or maybe they have two different uses where what I want to do is make a template and I want to have each one next to the other one and just audition them by using different settings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when it comes to the hardware, I know exactly what it does and why I reach for it. When it comes to plugins, half of them I've owned for 5. I've owned. I bought a Mercury bundle and I haven't even opened.
Everybody.
30% of them, I haven't even opened them because I just don't have time for that. You know.
Yeah.
Isn't marketing a trip? Because I think everybody I know has probably bought the Waves or some version of them Waves big bundles, and most people I know have probably used less than a third of them, including myself.
Sure.
It's great
I don't really need them. You know, I don't really need those to get my job done.
Yeah.
You know, all of them. That's for
all
sure.
the SSL stuff, the API stuff, and the Renaissance stuff. That's all I've used in mine. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else.
And occasionally a few other ones. You know, I used to use their what's the spreader, the
S1?
the S1. I've occasionally used that, and you know, a couple other things. You know, but those staple ones, like you said, that everybody uses, and then that's about it. And then the rest of them are just sitting there in the bundle, and it's like you paid for them royally.
Although I did open SSL Reverb last week and fell in love with it. The SSL Reverb, I really like it a lot.
Yeah, it actually is pretty good.
One of the things you should try out, Joe, if you missed that episode with Mark Exit Goodchild, is you should try out RVox on kick and snare. Pulls it right up to the front.
No shit.
You know, instead of L1. I mean, you've used L1 too, but I'm just saying they have two different sounds. Try that out. The RVox on the kick and the snare, as well as the vocals, which is Renaissance vocals. That's what it's supposedly used for.
Right.
You know.
It's funny, I stopped using RVox on vocals. I used to use it, but something about it, I don't.
There's a sound to it, right? It's like no thanks.
When it first came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is great and everything. But yeah, you know.
But you know what's good about there's a Renaissance channel though.
The Renaissance.
Now what our channel does for you is that it has a compressor in the channel strip, but it lets you switch between our comp and our Vox. Meaning that if you use Renaissance channel to use our Vox, now you have parameters.
No, you know, I haven't done that. That's interesting. I haven't done that.
Yeah, try it out.
Try that in there. Yeah. Okay. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what's great about this whole thing, because these are the things that get us out of our comfort zone of what we would normally do. When I called that up, I'm using it just for the normal channel strip, but I never switched it over to the RVox.
Switch it to RVox because now you have actual attack and release on RVox.
Okay.
Try it out.
Interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
very interesting.
Yeah, man. And what was I gonna say? Who else? We got somebody else on here, right? Oh no, Charles Browder.
Did he get out of the bathroom yet?
Is he ever? Yeah. Did he make it out of the bathroom? I hope he's not still in the bathroom. That would be a problem, Charles. Let us know.
Too many bran muffins, brother.
He says he's out
of the bathroom. Yeah. Pinch and wipe, Charles. Pinch and wipe. No.
Right. Conserve the squares.
Oh shit.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, hey Bob, since we got you on here too, man, I've been meaning to ask you, or I don't remember if I did, but my next Music Mixing Success Boot Camp is coming up. I'm going to either do it towards the end of September or the beginning, early part of October, either September or October. I usually do it in September. But I'm putting together the people now. I don't know if you ever heard it or whatever, but if you get a chance, go to see musicmixingsuccess.com and look. I've been doing it for the last couple of years. I would love to have you on there, man.
I'd love to do it. Is this a California thing or a New York thing?
Well, this is going to be a thing. I'm going to actually try to do this differently this year. I'm going to actually try to do it virtually. So I'm looking into doing it now, streaming live, where you can do it from your environment, no matter where you are. I'm going to have a few different people, but be able to pipe everybody in from different spots. So it's going to be a little challenging, but I'm sure I think I can make it happen. So,
yeah, well,
I would love that.
I'd love to. I mean, and I think it's absolutely positive that you could do something really meaningful virtually without anybody having to fly anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's good then. And did you ever send me your info so I could call you or anything?
Did I?
Yeah.
If I haven't, I can do it now. I mean, I thought that that Bill had circulated.
Yeah, I'll get you guys. Yeah, I'll get you guys all that information. I got that, Khaliq.
Okay, yeah. Let me check that out.
Good deal.
That's another thing of my computer getting crazy and all this is I've gotten behind on emails and stuff like that, so it's probably in there somewhere. And I'll put my email back in here in the box too, so if you want to copy and paste it or anything, feel free to, Bob.
Got it. I'm just going to send you my my card and Gmail's got all my info on it.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm sending you a hello email right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna do all this, and I just love that we are able to cover so much ground bi-coastally and everything as I do this and set different things up to have you guys, and as well I'm supportive of whatever you're doing, where we can all be on each other's advisory committees and stuff like that to do some of this stuff and spread the word out here to make it. Because like even we had Kenny on here earlier, Jason, I'd love to get you on here, and same thing what you do. Everybody just kind of working because we all have good foundation. And when we were talking earlier, we were mentioning the thing about like there's always new stuff coming out, and there's a new generation coming out that will never see or experience the stuff that we did. And that's our responsibility, is to pass the experiential part of it forward, because the technology is there, but a lot of people don't know that technology gets taken away, and if you don't know what to do, and you might be the one person that can save a session because you understand what it was built on and go back. He was saying, I don't know whether it was him or somebody was saying that who was it? Somebody was recently doing a thing where they were showing manual tape flange, and people were talking about it. Oh, that's like the plug-in, and it's like, no, the plug-in is like that. So if you lose your plug-in and need to know how to do that, know what it's based on, then you can recreate it. Whether it's with manual things or with delays or whatever, what it's based on.
He just used various speed.
Exactly.
I'm just teasing. Another plug-in.
And the actual act of flanging just came from somebody bumping up against it and then realized, okay, if I put my thumb on the flange of the reel, I get this effect happening. In real time, blending in with the other signal. So yeah, little stuff like that. I remember I was so freaked out the first time when I walked into when I used to work at Lion Share, and I walked into the studio, and I can't remember who I was working with, but I saw these microphone stands with a 2-inch machine with a tape. He made a tape, spliced a big long end of tape and took it around the microphone stands around the room in our little tape room for the manual. Real-time analog tape delay. I mean, that was like magic. I was like, what the heck is this guy doing? It looked like a mess in there, but it worked, and it sounded brilliant.
Cool.
Joel Hamilton posted on Instagram last week. He had like a 12-foot loop of tape going around 2 different mic stands. He was standing right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
over at his spot down the street in Williamsburg.
Sweet.
So there's still guys doing it the old way too.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. And there's just something about that sound when you're looking for a particular sound. There's something about that because it goes down to more than just the tape and stuff like that. It's the electronics, the path it's going, how much wear may have been on the tape. just a lot of factors that sometimes a plugin just will not capture and give you that same magic, So understanding it, I think, is important for us to pass it on because, there's a whole generation that can't even conceive of what we're talking about.
And that's almost hard to conceive in some ways.
Yeah, yeah.
That
it seems like magic.
Sucks.
Yeah, it is in a way.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw somebody do a window pane edit on tape, and I couldn't believe that. Not just cutting the tape, getting in and cutting out a window pane out of the tracks on the tapes and moving that stuff around. Come on now, So yeah, we can do it the easy way now with these plugins and everything, but understanding where this stuff is takes your skill set to a whole nother level if you have that understanding, because then you can really do it. This is exactly why these guys that are doing EDM and stuff like that can know how to do this glitch hop styles and all that, and take little chunks of sound bites and move them around and make things, but it was all based on the hard way, tape from somebody that started originally doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that sound, man. Sometimes it's just got to be the real deal.
Yeah. It's just like when you cranked up that guitar and amp right away, I was like, oh yeah, okay, you got the real thing going in there.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody else.
All my guitars on my records are real amps. They gotta be. But trust me, I'm getting closer and closer to buying a Kemper. I'm getting so close.
Yeah. Well, I heard. I checked out some of the demo things and all that, and they're real close. But the only distinguishing fact, because sonically, I believe now they're so good with these things that they can make things sonically sound very close. But the one thing that I still just on that I have not been convinced, because I can still always tell the difference, is performance. Because I say it's down to the individual fingers, the touch. That's the one factor that you can tell when you've got an individual's touch going on that changes dynamically from section to section, and I have yet to hear that, because when it's just like and I use the analogy of a string orchestra. They've got great string orchestra sample sets and things like that sound amazing, but they will always hire a live orchestra when they want that, because when you put them side by side and have them play exactly the same thing, it's so obvious what the real orchestra is. Not sound-wise, but performance-wise, because they dig in. You see them moving in the room together. You see them nodding their heads and scooping and things like that as the song moves in real time, and you can only simulate that through software. And I think it's the same thing with guitar. I've yet to hear anybody actually get that in where the trained ear cannot distinguish that. But for some things it doesn't matter. For some styles that doesn't even matter. But to me as a guitar player, that does matter.
Oh, definitely. The one other instrument for me that's always, just from an expression standpoint, trying to use like a synth versus the real thing, is saxophone. Sax is just this feel with a real sax player versus a plug-in. I mean, you could be as good as anybody on a board, and adjusting velocities and this and that and everything, but there's just something about a real sax player versus a plug-in that's just, it's warm and it's round and it's lush, and oh man, makes me want to take a bubble bath with fucking cane.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a great example too. It's a great example too, man, because sax and sax players, when you listen to great sax players, a big part of that, like, see, people listen to the notes and all that, but see, it's all part of them. It's how they inhale their air. They do it differently for different passages. It's how their lungs feel. It's how they purse their lips to make the reed vibrate against their armature structure and things like that. That these are little things that can only snapshots be taken. Like you said, you can simulate them in software and have velocities and different things like that, kind of do that. But then if you really listen to them side by side and have the actual live person do it, there's a dynamics and an aliveness that happens that you will instantly be able to tell the difference. I don't care how good it sounds. They can get the sounds really good and really close now. So in a vacuum, it sounds just like the real thing. Put it next to a real guy, and then you won't say that same statement.
Yeah.
I
don't know what technology they use for the Kemper profiling amp. It's it seems like it's a big ass computer that runs off of tubes, but it's an incredible device.
That Kemper is amazing. Yeah.
It really is. I was pretty damn impressed with that.
Sound wise, sonic wise, it is.
Well, you know, because you plug in your guitar right into it, and so you got the fingers, you got the whole 9 yards there, but it's emulating the box is emulating whatever it is that you model. And you know, it's pretty. I was really impressed with it.
Yeah. So those things are good and they're easy because they're emulating the delivery mechanism, which is, you know, the amplifier and and all that stuff. So that stuff is, because I mean, I have an Axe Effect sitting right here, and I love my Axe Effects. I haven't had a chance to see what the difference between that and the Kemper is, but it's like they're getting so good now. There's going to be something else that sounds just like it. But like I said, I've yet to hear somebody that emulates the player the same way. You know.
No, I don't think you can emulate a human yet.
I don't think you'll ever be able to do that. The Kemper is just such an amazing thing. I mean, I've been a tone purist when it comes to guitar tone for years. You know, I've always been a tube amp guy. I've had every Marshall on the planet, and you know, you name a tube amp, I've probably owned it at some point.
Sweet,
you know, and it's just gotten to the point where, you know, I mean, even in I just sold off a whole mess of amps. I sold about 6 amps and just bought a couple new ones just for the sounds that I need nowadays. And it's just that Kemper is just. I heard it at NAMM in January. You know, all my friends were talking about it. You know, it's so good, it's so good. Yeah, whatever. Blah 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 blah. You said Pod Foam was good too. I don't like Pod Foam. You know, but the second and it wasn't just hearing the Kemper; it was playing the Kemper, actually plugging into it and playing it and feeling how it responded like a tube amp. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It just blew my mind. Amazing piece of technology. Just amazing.
Wow. How does it compare to the Axe Effects?
The Axe Effects for me doesn't feel like a tube amp. It sounds like a tube amp, but it just doesn't feel the same. I had an Axe Effects and it actually affects my playing. I mean, literally to the point where my playing feels more sterile. It's just, I mean, sound-wise, it's great. I'm not knocking on the sound. It's really just the feel of it. I don't think it's as dynamic as the Kemper. You know, things like volume roll-offs or real subtle dynamics in the picking technique. But, I mean, the Axe Effects is great, too. The really nice thing about the Axe Effects is you got killer effects built into that thing. I mean, that thing's just unbelievable. It really is. It sounds great. And you can create any amp in the world. With the Kemper, you have to technically have the amp in order to profile it and get the sound. With the Axe Effects, everything's actually built right in already, and you can just tweak the parameters that are within it. So there's plus and minuses to both, you know, but I just prefer the Kemper just because it feels like a tube amp. I mean, it blew my mind when I played it.
You know, I'm not that good of a guitar player, and I've been playing for a long time, and almost pushing 40 years, and I'm just not good enough. You know, I think it's like, you know, if I had a tennis racket that cost $5,000 or one that cost $200, I would never play tennis well enough to know the difference. And I don't think that my guitar playing skills are tuned enough to know. I mean, I plug into this 11 rack and have a lot of fun. I mean, I can tell the difference with that piece of kit, but not enough to want to pick up my Fender Twin and roll it out into the room. You know what I'm saying? It's made me lazy. You know, it's got me a little on the lazy side. Now, when a client comes, they get the amps. You know, but when I'm messing around, I plug into the easy one. You know.
I just did a record that the kid tracked most of his guitar on an 11 rack, and it sounded great. You know, I mean, the 11 rack is definitely a cool piece of hardware. You know, my thing is, though, I deal with a lot of high gain. I deal with a lot of metal bands. You know, so the modelers really haven't nailed high gain yet, I don't think. Kemper and Axe Effects have come the closest. The Kemper, for me, it's like, I mean, there's literally almost no difference. I still hear it slightly, but it's passable. In a mix, you could never tell. You know, but
you made a great
the 11 rack and like Pod Farm trying to do high gain, they just have this digital fizziness at the top. Yeah, you can EQ it out and stuff and mess with it a little bit to make it sound better. But, you know, to me, still nothing just beats sticking a 57 in front of a vintage 30 with a crank tube amp, just that pushing all that air. It's just me.
And your tone affects performance.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. It does for me, I mean, hands down.
And plus, you made a great point about physically moving air is very important, you know, because there's something about that air pressure moving and feeling against your body in real time too as you're playing coming from an amp, and like you said, just stick a mic up to it. That's a different kind of feeling, whether you're in the room and feeling what's going on around you, or whether you're catching it over headphones or whatever. It's a whole different thing, you know. I really think there's something about the physical movement of air in the room is that's another thing. Let me ask you this: the clean sounds versus the high gain sounds on the Kemper versus the Axe Effects. The Kemper versus the Axe
For the
Effects.
clean sounds, I don't really notice much difference. I mean, to put it this way, 95% of the clean sounds I use on records these days is actually pod forms. I mean, when I'm doing clean guitars, I go DI into the system and then into a preamp and then just throw pod form on it. You know, unless of course, you know, I can get my hands on that, you know, that vintage Fender or, you know, a JC120 or something like that. You know, I mean, I'll always definitely go the tube amp over that. But when I don't have those options, pod form, Kemper. I mean, the JC120 model in the Kemper and the Fender Twin model in the Kemper are awesome. They're great in the Axe Effects too, actually. Yeah, all of them are really good. I think clean. I just think it's a little bit different. You know, because I mean, it's still that tube tone, but there's something about high gain stuff that you get real fizzy. You know, and the digital stuff just hasn't really been able to capture that fizzy stuff really right. You know, you can do like medium gain just fine. You know, something like a JCM 800. You know, some of the old Laney's late 70s. You know, like, you know, even some of the distorted Fender stuff, like the Pro Sonics and stuff like that. I think that all the modeling does fine. You know, the Axe Effect sounds awesome on the medium gain stuff. You know, I mean, honestly, the difference between the Kemper and the Axe Effects is really just, for me, it's just a feel thing. That they don't sound really different sonically. I think they sound both very close to each other, especially with the Axe Effects, because you could do like the EQ matching stuff. But with the Kemper, it's just kind of like I can take my amp with my settings and just stick a microphone in front of the cabinet, plug it into the Kemper, and the Kemper will model that exact chain, and then I just have that sound. You know, with the Axe Effects, it's kind of more you got to go in and hunt and peck and tweak parameters till you get the sound that you want, kind of thing.
Now, I haven't gotten good on it, but you can model amps with the Axe Effects too, right?
I don't think you can actually model it like you do with the Kemper. You can do what they call tone matching. I think I'm not sure how it works in the Axe because I only have the original Axe. I haven't had a tube. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how the tone matching works.
I'm not sure too. I've got the Axe Effects too, and I haven't even begun to stretch it out because I'm still trying to learn how to play guitar again. But
there's so much stuff in it, man. I mean, you can adjust the amount of tube sag and things like that in the Axe. It's crazy how much stuff there is to adjust. But it sounds great. You know, I mean, I honestly say probably 10 years from now, nobody's really going to know the difference between a tube amp and the digital emulation. It's getting that good.
Yeah. It really is getting that good, you know. I totally agree with that. As far as sound reproducing things and all that, it's pretty much indistinguishable. It's only distinguishable to us as players or whatever, but the listening audience, they're not going to care. You know, it's not like, you know, it's the same argument that they had back in the day. I started out on Neve consoles versus SSL, and the bottom line is nobody cared when they listened to the final record. Oh, that was done on a Neve or that was done on SSL. I don't like it. Nobody went there. You couldn't even identify it. You know,
Tread plate, anyone? Tread plate?
There you go. Look at Bill.
Hey, Bill, you want to see some shit? Look.
Oh, there you go. There you go. The Pod
baby.
Junior. There you go.
Little baby pocket some bitch. I do time on stuff. This is like $75. Runs on batteries. Take it anywhere you want.
Hey, right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I use an iPod for that. No, an iPad.
Hey man, they got some great apps on the
There's one called Bias that JD was telling us about.
Awesome.
Bias is
Bias
supposed to be
amazing.
great.
You can actually design your own tube amp in this plug in this program. It's amazing. You can build the gain stages and everything of the amp. It's unbelievable. I got friends that are using it and they absolutely love it.
What do you use iRig to get into it?
It uses iRig, or what's the other one? iRig, and there's another one that you can use that you can get your guitar plugged into the iPad with it. I can't remember what it's called, but I think iRig. You just plug it in, goes in, and then you could literally just design an amp from scratch. Everything from the type of tubes, how hot those tubes are going to run, how many channels the amp has, the speakers, the microphone that's on the speaker. It's amazing program.
That's wow. Yeah, it's amazing. The capabilities that are there now. It's just amazing to me. You can literally do anything, so having the understanding too. It was funny too because I don't know if any of you guys ever work with or know, but I'm sure you know the name. There's a guy named Wah Wah Watson, guitar player, a legendary guitar player from the old school days, one of the original guys to really be the master of the wah wah pedal on a lot of hit records. But when I was working with him, I found out that he never changed his guitar strings until he absolutely had to, and he hated to, because part of that is once that oil got on the strings and they started getting this certain deadness and whatever and everything, it was a certain characteristic to that, and boy, do not mess with that. I'm telling you, I mean. So I don't even know why I got off on that, but that was a big part of like some of this modeling. There's little things like that lead up to part of how the sound is. And those are little variables that we keep talking about, but they're getting so good now where they can even put those kind of variables into the software.
Oh, it's crazy. And kind of like what you were just saying with the strings. I don't know if you guys ever heard the story, but kind of the same thing happened with Buddy Rich one time. He went out and had a tech set up his drums, and his tech went and polished all his cymbals. Oh, polished all his cymbals on the kit. Buddy literally
my God,
threw them across the stage and said, "Oh, that's a waste," and just walked away.
Oh my God, yeah. These guys are real serious. It was funny too because I don't know if you guys ever know. There's a legendary organist, a guy named Jimmy Smith. He's gone now, but he was just an amazing jazz organist, total legend. Everybody knew it. I was working on one of Quincy's sessions and helping set up for this session. Jimmy brought his Hammond organ in there, and he had these organ pedals, his bass pedals. So I was trying to be helpful, doing my job, trying to get set up and everything. And I started to move the bass pedals in place. Boy, he went off on me. What the heck are you doing? Get away from my pedals. Don't you ever touch my pedals, and nobody touches my bass pedals, all this. I'll set up my own stuff, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be helpful and get it. But some people freak out about that because it's so much a part of their sound. They do not want to take any chance of you varying it in any way, form, or fashion. So some guys will go to the point of that they don't want you to help set up nothing. They want to make sure it's all tweaked in there just right. I forget, there was one guitar player that one of his famous guitars literally had, it was a semi-hollow body, but it literally had a hole in the front, in the resonance board. That was part of the sound. And he was like, it took me 20-something years to get this sound now. There was dirt and sweat on it, parts where he had played, in the forearm, it burned into. I know you know what I'm talking about, Jason. There's certain things that start building into your guitar. You cannot get that. And the modeling is close, but still, like for things like that are individual, like guitar and stuff like that, that's your sweat. They can't model that part of it. I don't know. They're probably getting close though. They can get close to it where you can't tell, but that's as big a part of your sound as anything else.
Oh, absolutely, hands down. It's and it's the same thing. I mean, I speak with guitarists and stuff all the time as a guitar player. I get guitarists that come in and haven't changed the strings on their guitar in a year, and they want to, and when it comes to the metal stuff, when your strings get like that, it's just pure mud. There's no note definition, there's nothing, and I'll be like, dude, why aren't you changing your strings? You're just killing your tone. Well, I like the way they feel. Okay, that's fine and dandy. I get that. I can respect
Mm-hmm.
that. But you're killing your tone, man. You just killing it.
Be killing it, man.
I got you this time, Jason. I got you this time. You don't know anything about DOD. You don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know
there we go.
American Metal, son. American Metal. You don't know about this. Look, this is not a plug.
Don't tell me, bro.
All right, this is not a plug.
You ready? I played.
You don't know about DOD. Tell me about it, Jason.
Here we go. I played right near you. I played the Village Gate in like 1992, and I had a Marshall half stack.
All
And I
right.
had the American Metal, and I had a pink shovel.
Oh,
Pink shovel.
Big Charmin. Oh,
So I get up on stage. And my amp blew up. My amp blew up on stage. So what did I have to do? I had to borrow an amp, and the other band that was on was like a rockabilly thing, and all the guy had was this little like 15-watt Fender Champ, and I had to plug the American Metal into this 15-watt Fender Champ and try and play all these songs on this little tiny amp. Oh, dude, I love that pedal. It's such a great pedal.
This is it. This is
Hey,
it.
hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. Sorry, man. He won that round.
All right, yeah, there you go. There you
He
go.
won that round.
The champion.
Oh, man. Yeah.
This is bringing back so many memories. I'm getting all nostalgic now.
Yeah. It's a big part. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we wrap this up, too, let's talk about especially Jason and Bill. You guys recording and mixing metal guitars. You know, any standout tricks that you want to share with somebody that you
Get it right as when it goes in, because if you try to tweak it after the fact, it's nearly impossible.
Agreed. EQing is not a good idea.
Yeah, EQing when it comes to the metal. Oh my God, an old full range. Oh my God.
Oh my God! and that's been used, buddy. That's definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, Joseph.
You talking to me about full range.
Near and dear to my heart back in the day. Oh my God. Dude, that's
Hey, give me your address, man. I'll send it to you.
Dude, I can't believe you have one.
Yeah, I'll send it
Wait,
to you. You
I
want
missed
it?
it.
Oh, it's an old full range booster. It's like an overdrive EQ.
Back it up so we can see it a little bit.
Is that right? That's
Back
it,
up a little
baby.
bit more.
Yeah,
Back up a little bit more, Joseph.
Right there.
Yeah, that's good.
that's crazy.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's sweet, man.
I got a whole box of this shit, man.
Oh man, does it work?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh
I've
my
got
goodness.
the original tape. I got the tape echo, you know, with the oil can in it.
Joe,
the whole
what'd you put
fucking
up?
shit.
Crazy.
It's a full range booster.
Man, that's
What
nice.
happened, Bill?
Sweet.
Uh-oh, Bill's going to get something. Bill's going to get something.
You know, another mission.
Oh, he came back. Yeah, no, this is just the original, man. The original
Connection
full
bug
range
out. Sorry about
booster.
that.
That's a maestro.
I've got a rooster booster, too.
Oh my God.
What do
You ever
put
see
up?
one of those?
Yeah.
A rooster booster? Yeah,
Dude, I'm
man.
a beer whore like you have no idea, bro. Oh my God.
Wait, what
I've
did you put up?
actually got
My connection bugged out. What'd you put up, Joe? What was it?
That's a full range booster, the
Okay.
original. And I just mentioned a rooster, the rooster booster. That's from back in 1960.
Joseph, have you tried using them, reamping, using them into your mixes?
I used to, but it's too easy now to get a plug-in.
Okay, I got you.
I'll pull it out for a session for someone else, but I don't fuck with it anymore, man. I use the damn, since I got the 11 rack, I just plug into that thing, man.
Jason
I have
said, Jason
I've
said,
got a
I'll take it.
Yeah, I've got a Univibe.
Yo, I'm gonna hit you up in a little bit. We're gonna talk about some of this stuff for sure.
Okay, I do. I have an actual Univibe with a foot pedal and a whole. Yeah, no shit.
Wow.
And you know the drag is you got to unscrew the bottom of them to put a battery in it and all that crap, and it just gets old. It's like, all right, if I don't use it for 3 months and I go back to it, the battery's dead. So then I gotta,
Sounds
it's just,
so good.
Yeah, it does, but every now and then I get in that mood where I'll go through it all and mess with it.
Oh man.
My wife says, "Why don't you take the dirt off that?" I said, "No, that dirt's got the mojo on it, honey.
Yeah,
You
that's the
can't clean that
mojo.
shit.
It's like beat up guitars, man. You can't beat
That's
it.
30
I love
years
it.
of dust, man. That dust is 30 years old underneath there,
All right, Joe.
Some of it's
Let's see if you can. Let's see if you can match one of these. Can you match one of these?
Oh, there you go. Which
Here
one
we
is that?
go.
Original Crybaby.
Oh, there goes Jason. There goes Jason. He's gonna try it. He's gonna try
Oh,
it.
yeah.
back.
I'm not trying to hear it, Jason. I'm not trying to hear it.
You ready? Here we go. You see this?
What's wait?
What you got? What you got, Jason?
This exact wah pedal
Oh,
belongs
yeah,
to
there you
Dimebag
go.
Darrell.
Yeah.
This is the Dimebag Darrell wah pedal. It was one of his personal ones. He gave it to me as a gift.
Very nice. Okay, you get this round. You get this round. I got this from an actual store, so you get that round. That round goes to Jason, everybody.
Oh man.
I thought you knew that story already, Bill. I gotta tell you.
No, you got me. You got me. If I would have known that story, I wouldn't have broken up and
I don't know why I can't get the Hangouts more often. We always have so much fun.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, we pulling out all this old stuff here. How about this? You remember this?
What is that? I can't read it.
It's blurry. Yeah, we can't see it. Yeah.
Dan Armstrong Orange Squeezer.
Oh my God!
I kept that. That's actually, I use that compressor on a lot of other things. Now, that's why I specifically kept it. Man, it's just a real simple. I mean, the circuit in here is like nothing, man. But it sounds unlike anything else when you put it on guitar and other stuff.
I'll raise you a big muff.
Big Muff Pie.
Yeah,
Muff Pie, one of my
yeah.
first.
That's an original Big Muff.
That's an original.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, that's the real deal.
Yeah, that's it. That's the real one.
You have any idea how much that is worth?
No.
You really should look on eBay.
Yeah, dude, you need to be. You got
You could almost outfit yourself a whole new studio for what that pedal is worth.
Telling you, man. Yeah, that's the Hendrix pedal, bro.
I got the Super
original?
Fuzz.
Wow,
This is the original Super Fuzz. Too.
that is an original Super Fuzz.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
What do you got here? Oh, dude.
Larry Graham would be looking for you.
Oh, there's King Wah. There we go.
There we go.
That's the one, man. The king. Oh, man, I don't like to play with this shit. It makes noise. It causes, the noise floor goes up and all that crap,
Who cares? It sounds so good.
It sounds phenomenal. It does.
But yeah, you got an offer.
Dude, you got a gold mine on your hands right there. Like you said, you can outfit a whole new studio with that stuff.
Joe, I'm going to make you an offer, and this is my offer. I'm going to make you a money offer that is so big that you're never going to want to get rid of them. I'm not going to give you anything, because you want to know why? Later on, that shit is going to fund your retirement. I wouldn't even take it from you.
There you
Seriously,
go.
I wouldn't.
That's what's up.
That stuff is going to be worth so much money. Oh, man.
You think
and
so,
the moment
really?
you sell it, you're going to regret selling it.
Do you think so, really? You think it's worth that much?
Absolutely it is.
I'll be damned.
Well, just do some research on eBay. Do some research and just kind of see what comes up.
I'll tell you this, though. If you pull a Klon out of that box, I'm flying to wherever you are and stealing it because it's worth like $1 million.
No kidding? Do you want to see it?
You don't have a Klon?
Do you want to see it?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Really? Come on.
All right.
Come on now.
No way.
Wait, you got to tell you.
Listen back for that Dimebag story. Come on with it. Come on with it.
Gotcha.
Klons are crazy. They're going for like $5,000 on eBay. Like, no joke.
No shit.
No shit.
I thought this stuff might have had some value, but I wouldn't have. I would have said $100 or a couple $100 maybe.
Dude,
gotta
that's
be
super
kidding me.
fuzz. You could probably get $200-300 for.
That's
Stuff, yeah, it's amazing.
Don't sell it, man.
you guys are nuts, man.
You're gonna want to use it.
Yeah. You guys
But
are
I
nuts.
gotta tell you too,
I wouldn't
some
give
of
you
it.
$10 for it.
Pick a couple of things, go back through them, and pick a couple of things and reamp some stuff through it and try it, because quite frankly, that's a big part of a secret process that a lot of engineers are doing in the studio that other
Yeah.
people don't. Everybody's going through the big racks and stuff like that. There's a lot of folks going in the studio with their little old guitar pedals and running through stuff like that and getting very special sound. So find a couple of key things and keep them. You know, get rid of the ones you just know you ain't going to use, but find a couple of signature things, you know, that'll give you that one little thing that everybody's going to wonder, how did he do that?
Yeah, but as far as Khaliq's question, which is about actually putting stuff together, one of the things is that you gotta decide what's going to drive your song. If your guitars are going to drive your song, then they need to be prominent and dealt with first, and then the bass needs to be blended in with them. Otherwise, the vocals and the bass need to be set up, and the guitars need to be put into the space that's left. So you have some people who high pass their guitars. Like your guitars hopefully are going to be in your left and right channels, not in the center, because you double track them. So they're not coming into the phantom center. But some people high pass their guitars. Other people not only don't high pass their guitars, but they boost at 100 hertz. So, you know, you have some people who are treating guitars as if they're carrying the bass really along with the bass, and other people are just using it for fuzzy sounds while the bass actually carries the bottom.
For me, one of the techniques is I usually high pass my guitars around 150. My bass takes up all the sub space. Everything like sub 50 hertz is all bass guitar. There's no kick drum down there. My kick drums usually sit somewhere around 80, 90 hertz. Gets a good chest thump. And then my bass takes up all those low mid frequencies and all the sub bass. And then the vocals have a nice space in the middle where you scoop your guitars to sit on top. But for me, I always find that other than, you know, either a high pass or a low pass, depending on what you need on the guitars, if you start EQing them, even anything over like a dB or two pull, or even more than a dB push anywhere, they start to just get fake and fall apart. It's not like, it's not real. You know, they start to sound digital like emulations. So it's very, very important with guitars that you know the sound that you want before it goes down. You know, it even kind of like drums is the same thing. You know, you got to have the drums tuned right. You know, this, you got to have the amp dialed in, mic placed just right, the kind of speaker that you want. All the speakers sound different. But that's really the trick with getting metal guitars right. Also, the other trick that everybody doesn't seem to realize is you're really not using a lot of gain. Wherever you think your gain should be, wherever you think, when you dial up the amp, wherever you put your gain, what I tell everybody is always bring it down one notch. Always. Because as soon as you get the left and right spread up, all that gain comes back through the center. And you get it all back. When you start getting too gainy on guitars, you lose all your definition, you lose all the notes, you lose all that, and it just starts to sound like white noise. So
Great point.
less is actually more when it comes to gain guitar. I mean, and I'm not talking like, you know, just a little bit of gain. I mean, you're still up there in the high gain range, but wherever you think you have enough, always back it off a little bit more, and then you'll be perfect every time.
And you can always add gain, but you can't subtract.
That's right. That's a great point.
What about the bass, Jason? Are you using anything to accentuate the bass, like low ender or low air or R bass or
all of my bass guitar for the last year has been a Countryman DI box into CLA bass.
Oh man, you still got a Countryman.
Yeah, CLA bass is really good.
CLA, bro. CLA has become my go-to bass plugin. But the one thing that I do to my bass, and a lot of guys do this, I don't want to say it's different, but what I do is CLA bass handles all the mids and the lows, and then what I do is I have a second track of bass, same bass performance, just copied to another track, and then that gets a Sans amp on it with a high pass at 150, and then it gets tucked into the guitars just underneath.
Yeah, for the 2K buzz.
Yeah. So basically what happens is you get your guitars coming down to 150, And then everything below that, till about 80 hertz, is those bass frequencies. Then there's a hole for the kick, and then everything under that is all that sub bass and that fatness from the CLA bass. That sub fader on the CLA bass is like it's the greatest thing ever. I was using max bass before that, but I find the CLA bass just be a little more dimensional. I like it a little more.
I'll be damned.
What max bass and R bass do is they add on top of your notes. What low ender does is it adds below your notes. If you haven't checked it out, it's by I don't know if they call themselves Refuse software, whatever. REFUSE. But yeah, you should check out Low Ender because that's what, like, for Black Keys, what's it called? Gold on the Ceiling.
Okay.
That's what they used for the synth that they added to the bass, is Low Ender. Chad Blake. So yeah, definitely demo that because Low Ender will really gets the punch in there.
$70, dude. You can't pass that up.
Yeah, Low Ender's really great. I love that too. But like you said, yeah, that's the difference of knowing the tools is knowing that actually adds harmonics in down below.
Yeah, below, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
very
no,
cool.
that makes sense.
I'll have to check that one out for sure.
Because a lot of times, that I find that there are no harmonics when I'm given some bass tracks. There basically is nothing to work with in the sub.
Yeah.
You know,
that's where something like that comes in good because it actually synthesizes. DBX used to have a box that we all used to use all the time called the harmonics
the 120.
Yeah, exactly, Bill. And that was the secret weapon because it put stuff that didn't exist down there.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah, Jason, send me a bass track. I'll run it through Low Ender for you so you can listen to it.
I got one I can export later for you today and send it to you.
That's what's up. Send it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just been really digging the CLA bass for the low sub stuff currently. I didn't even want to get the package, but the studio that I was working in at the time had it, and I just threw it up just to see what it sounded like, and I went, "Holy shit! This
Actually,
is really good."
Those are really good. Actually, all three of them are really good. The CLA bass,
really
the
one of the
CLA
best ones
guitars,
out
and the CLA vocals. They're all really good.
I've been cheating and using it on my kick drum too recently. CLA drum.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. We were talking about shiny objects and everything. That to me now has proven it's actually one of the very best ones out there. You know, I mean.
I just feel like it's cheating though, because there's only 4 sliders.
Right, and it's instant goodness.
It really is instant goodness. I don't get it. I've never had a plug-in in my arsenal that I just throw up and just go, yeah, that's it. I've always had to tweak a little bit. But literally on bass, the moment I threw CLA bass up, I just went, oh my God.
Yeah.
The difference was night and day. Even just the default settings it blew me away.
Shit.
Yeah, that's cool. It's definitely a must-have. Definitely. Well, hey guys, listen, we're gonna wrap it up here because we go on 3.5 hours here, and hey, this was a great one, man. I had a great time with y'all. Jason, do you have my email? I need to have your information too because I want to get you involved as well as on my new boot camp.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Hold on, I'll give you my email address.
Okay, and I'm putting mine back in the chat box here. Okay, I got yours, and I'm going to do it. And do me a favor, shoot me one as well, so we both have it. So if one doesn't go one way, it'll go the other way. And we'll, yeah, I definitely want to talk about getting all you guys on it. Bill, you're still locked in. You're still going to do it, right? I already got a slot for you.
Oh, yeah, that's the plan right now. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm working on seeing how this is going to, if I can do it virtually, and live stream it in a way. I won't be doing it through a Hangout because this is too iffy, but I'm gonna do it through an actual live streaming service.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we're streaming 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Let me. Can I ask you a question, quick, Bill?
Yeah. What's up?
Before you go, the camera that you're using, your webcam.
Yep.
It's a C920 or something.
Logitech C910. That's what I'm using.
910. Okay. Now does that have a what am I looking for? H2 6 something.
H.265.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does it have that inside the camera where it's compressing the video into that format
That's a good
before it
question.
hits your computer?
That's a good question. I don't think that would be inside the camera. I think that would be inside the software. But
Yeah, that's a video codec.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
right.
basically, if you use QuickTime Player or whatever to record from it, then yeah, you can record H.264 from it.
Okay.
That's just a storage
On
form.
board, I guess the term is on board H.264 encoder. Enabling your
I
camera
wouldn't
to
think
create
so,
the
because it's
compression
just
before it goes to your CPU.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so
Okay.
because that's just a storage format. You know, it's like saying, are you going to put it on a CD or an 8-track tape? It's a H.264 is a storage format, so I don't think that has anything to do with the actual camera.
That's actually a streaming protocol, according to what I've been.
Right, but what I'm saying is the only way you can stream is
Streaming.
through a program. And
Yeah.
each program is going to decide what format they're going to stream with.
Right, right.
So
That's
all the
just a
camera
wrapper,
really
right,
does
Bill?
is collect the information for you and hand it out. And then whatever program you use with the camera decides what it wants to encode it into.
Right. And Bill, isn't that just a wrapper? Because they have H.264, but they also have X.264 now too, right? So it's just a
Sure.
wrapper, right?
Yeah, sure. It's not, I mean, what are you trying to do, Joseph? I mean, you're trying to make
no,
some
well-
tutorials or something?
No, not at all. It's a this streaming thing that you guys with the Apples can do.
Yeah.
You know, you can throw up a scene and we can see your screen share and hear your music, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm still trying to get that worked out with my workstation, my PC.
Oh, okay.
And so far, all I've come up with is a hardware unit. I have not come up with a software solution.
That
At this
shouldn't be
point.
necessary. You should be able to route wherever because you're on Pro Tools or something.
Yes, and I actually put.
You should be able to route it out of Pro Tools physically by a cable back into your computer, and then use your computer's line in as the input.
I tried to do that last with Khaliq. You weren't here, but it was Khaliq was, and we were a little early. And what I did is to bypass the HD system, I just formatted another hard drive and put in the native version and I booted it off of that, pulled up a session, and plugged in a microphone. And Khaliq could hear my microphone, me talking through the mic.
Yeah.
But when I hit play, he could not hear my session.
But
That-
that
this is on a
that
PC?
might have been me too, because like I told you, my Mac is starting to die.
Right.
So to be honest, it could have been my computer, because remember the other guy that was on there, he said he heard both your mic and your session.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. He
So,
did.
yeah, so we have to revisit that because my
And this was
my-
on a PC? Yeah, we'll figure that out this week, but that was on a PC, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I
have
would
a
do
PC.
What I would do is use whatever microphone you were using, set it up so that it's the input for Pro Tools, and that you're broadcasting through a live channel of Pro Tools. So that way, if Khaliq can hear you, he's hearing you through Pro Tools to begin with. So when you
Yeah,
press
he was.
play, he'll also hear the music.
I swear to God, my voice was only. It wasn't coming through this camera.
It was going through
Yeah.
Pro Tools.
It was going through Pro Tools.
I have no answer for you then.
Yeah.
on the
yeah,
PC. Well, there was the
Yeah.
one thing, remember, we said, Joseph, we were going to try, because you didn't have the cables at the time. Basically, Bill's telling you the same thing that I was telling you. You need to actually have a physical cable to come out of your audio interface back into your computer sound card, so that you're essentially using two sound cards. You know?
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll try to figure that out this week, though.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get it. PC's going a little bit different, but we'll
Mhm.
figure it out. Definitely. Cool,
Okay.
guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up for today, and want to thank you all for being here, and this was great. We're going to do it again on the next one. Thank you, everybody who was watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next Hangout.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.
Peace.
Latest.